Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with me, your host. My name is Chad Medved. Welcome to the show. Appreciate you being here as usual. A little bit of business beforehand. Turner Dairy Farms, proud sponsors of the podcast. They are holding a carton contest. The deadline is March 12th. If you are artistically inclined, you can go to turnerdairy.net and you could go and scroll down and find the carton contest and grab the template, which is a template for a paper carton, half-gallon carton, and you could design something and submit it to turnerdairy.net and leave it open to the public to vote upon. Winner of this art competition gets $2,000 cash money, and they get their artwork on 500,000, 500,000 cartons of Turner's tea. But if you are interested, turnerdairy.net, you got until Saturday. I'm not sure what time, but get your entries in. But I have to tell you, some people are killing it. If you go on the website, you could see the entries that have already been submitted, and there's some heavy hitters up there. But check it out, turnerdairy.net. But the reason that everyone is here, before the reason that everyone is here this week, this is episode 199. Next week is episode 200, which calls for a celebration. I am throwing a celebration. I'm throwing a party. March 24th at Streets on Carson in the South Side. I am closing down the joint to celebrate this milestone with all of the people that helped me to where I am today. We're going to have, previous guests. We're going to have friends. We're going to have family. We're going to have loved ones. We're just going to have good people there. We're going to have amazing food by Chef Matt at Streets on Carson. And we are going to have a plethora of sweets, good music, libations, and just good vibes. And I urge you to come if you have some time and, get yourself a babysitter. It's Thursday night. Call off on a Friday. Why not? Get a little bit crazy. But March 24th, Streets on Carson, 6 to ? Hope to see you. But the reason that we are here this week, I sit down with a great guest. This week, I sit down with JTH, or Tyler Hanna. So JTH, I came across a few years ago through One Up Skate Shop. I used to, I didn't used to, but I was just seeing One Up repost, clip after clip after clip after clip of just like hammers on a skateboard. This dude was just, throwing down crazy tricks. And I kept seeing his Instagram, JTH, and I was like, obviously I like it. I'm going to follow it. And, over the years, I just see him just getting better and better and better. And obviously, I wanted to talk to him. I hit him up and I was like, yo, dude, I would love to have you on the podcast, talk to you about skateboarding, how you got into skateboarding, kind of why you do what you do. And, if you follow him on Instagram at JTH96, you'll kind of get an idea. I don't really, in my write-up that I do for each episode, I describe him as a unique person, as a unique soul, because I feel like he's so much more than a skateboarder. I feel like, you can't just label him as a skateboarder because I don't know. It's like I talked to him and you could just tell, when you listen to this, you can just tell that he's on some different shit. And, that's not to take anything away from skateboarding. Absolutely, one of the best in the city for sure. And the current, 2-belt holder of the One Up skate competition. No big deal. He just won $500 cash in the second year in the row. So he's back to back right now. But next year, he was talking shit saying he was coming for 3 belts, which is unheard of. But we have a pretty great conversation. I've been following him for a few years, and I feel like, as you follow people on Instagram, you build up a personality. Oh my God, these dogs are about to lose their mind. But you build up a personality just by following people, by what you expect them to be, what you think they're going to be, not that it's negative, but I didn't really know anything about JTH besides for he was an animal on a skateboard, basically. You know, he was a cool dude. I met him a few times, but I wanted to hear more about his story and hear about his life and why he is kind of, you know, who he is today, why he's so, you know, dedicated to skateboarding. You know, he's kind of like a, you know, he's kind of like a, you know, he's just a, he's an interesting soul, you know. He wants to travel. He wants to like see all this stuff. But you know, I'm gonna quit talking about it. But you know, it's a great episode. It really is. You know, he has a pretty interesting life, and he has a pretty interesting story. And I'm happy to, you know, have been able to sit down and have this conversation with him. I'm excited to just see where he goes in life because, like I said, dude is nasty. At JTH96 on Instagram. I mean, you could watch these videos. You could scroll through his Instagram for an hour and just see clip after clip of bangers. But without further ado, episode 199 of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with JTH.
I gotta use the telephone.
Hello?
Telephone.
I'll call you right back. Call you right back.
Telephone.
I'll Call You Right Back podcast. This is legit.
Am I like at a good distance right now for picking up?
Yeah, because
or not?
you can hear it. Like if you
Yeah.
like pull away, you can hear people's like voice. So you just kind of want to keep like a fist away.
Yeah,
You know what I
'cause
mean?
I
Like-
can hear myself in the headphones, not like outside
Is that weird?
of the headphones. It's different than anything I've heard before.
100%.
But it makes sense though.
Yeah,
Like,
people-
listening to the audio from the mic, not the actual audio. in
Yeah,
the
it's,
room.
you ever notice how people like radio disc jockeys will like pull, like have
Yeah,
like one.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like I never understood that until I started doing this shit because, you know, you don't really get to hear the environment and
Yeah.
like, you know, your surroundings if you're just like zoned in on your voice.
Yeah, because this is like cutting out everything else, basically.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird because like
Sick.
whenever I did this before, you know, I was in like my living room of my apartment, you know, hot
Yeah.
as fuck. We had like, you know, just, you
Yeah,
know,
because it was like on the couch and stuff.
yeah, we
basically,
just had
right?
like mics and like there was no headphones. Like I didn't have any of this board to do all this shit. So like wasn't really professional. But now, you know, we're here for a proper
Dude.
interview for you.
It's come a long way, dude.
I'm
Love
trying to
see
come
it.
a long
That's
way.
why I'm stoked on you, dude, is like, because I'm just like such an admirer of like, I know so many people at this point in so many areas, like completely outside anything I do, but I just take like so much inspiration from watching other people progress as well in like all these other different areas. So I'm like genuinely stoked all the time whenever I see even someone I don't know super well, just like being able to watch their growth or their progression. Like you're a perfect example because like we've met like a handful of times and spent basically more time together back then,
Yeah.
but I've consistently like am always watching like everything you're putting out or this progression you're making in a few different avenues of your life. And like that shit is what's super dope to me.
I appreciate that.
Dude,
I
yeah,
do
of
appreciate that.
course.
That's how I feel with like pretty much everyone I talk to because like, you know, it's all different types of weird random people and it's like everyone just like super passionate about like beekeeping or
Yeah.
like wildlife management, weird stuff
Yeah.
that like I never had like any interest in at first because it's like why would I have a interest in beekeeping whenever I'm 16, 17? But now it's like, God, I feel like I get like charged up whenever I
Yeah.
like talk to people because it's just dope. It's motivating to see people just being able to like make their shit happen.
Yeah, and it also brings like I love like the level of awareness it can like bring. Like beekeeping, for example, like it might not really be relevant or matter to you
But the common
in a personal
denominator,
sense, but like the awareness, like the way your knowledge is now expanded, whether it ends up being relevant or not.
Yeah.
You've expanded your world, your conditioning a little bit more just by having that conversation with someone that it is a passion to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's like what started all this. It's
Yeah.
like it would be weird for me to like the beekeeper, for instance. Like, let's say I just came across like that the person that I talked to, let's say I saw her at like a bar or something, and I found out she was a beekeeper. I would be weird to just like grill her for 2 hours about like, so what do you use for bees? Like how much does a hive of bees, how much does a nuke of bees go for nowadays? Like, it would be weird for me to ask that, but like, I just created my own environment to be able to like, you know, ask all these questions to people for a purpose. Like, people know that I'm about to just like grill them with a bunch of shit.
Yeah, and they're stoked for it.
Yeah, kind of, because it's like, whether it's like people who, obviously the people that I'm talking to, like they're doing like what their life's work is.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
I think like a perfect example is like, I randomly talked to this dude who dug graves. You know, one day I was like, I want to know who digs graves at cemeteries, and I want to talk to him.
That's such a good question.
Right? Yeah. It's like, I think about that and I'm like, you think about creepy ass shit. You know what I mean? You think about weirdos. You know, like I put it on Facebook. I was like, I want to know someone who, you know, works at a cemetery.
Yeah.
I had a friend who was like, this dude has been working there. He's been working there for 16 years and he was only like 30. So he started whenever he was like 14. Yeah. And he's literally been there for like almost 2 decades.
Pretty chill. Like,
he don't do nothing but chill with his dogs and shoot bow and arrow. Like, that's literally his life. But I was like, man, like I couldn't just ask that dude a bunch of random questions if I met him randomly.
And that's what's like so genius about it. Like, I guess not to get off topic in a way,
dude, it's
like,
all off topic here.
I've been doing like I said earlier when I came in, like a lot of like the last year or so, I've been like doing a lot of I can't remember the word I used earlier, but basically just like developing like my own perspectives or myself like more in a way. And like I had an idea, like I've been trying to get into more like financial stuff too lately.
In what way? What do you mean? Like saving money or trying to make more of it?
So basically I made like a good bit of money last year off of like the first crypto boom. I like was somewhat early to it. And
you got into cryptocurrency?
In a way, like basically I was at the right place, right time. Like I'm not really like a big believer or someone who's right now all my money is out of it. Yeah. Because it's kind of like a bubble thing now. But basically I had like, you know, all my life savings to that point. And I like had thrown it in there and then it worked out. And so like I, you know, have a decent amount of money, what I've been like using the last year or so, like cruising with. And I just like got to a point where I was like, yeah, you know, I do all this skating stuff, all this other stuff other than that too. But I want to develop my financial literacy so that I take this good break I finally got and I could very easily, if done properly, use that for the rest of my life if I'm smart with how I, you know, use all of it and whatnot. And so like a lot of people, I'll listen to like motivational speakers or, you know, investors.
What kind of stuff do you like?
Entrepreneurs.
Like, who do you listen to? Like, who are your people?
Dude, honestly, I'm pretty ignorant.
Are you like a Gary Vee guy?
No, not really.
Okay.
Like, I mean, I know who he is and see some of his stuff.
But like, I'm talking about like, as far as
that's like comes with like a stigma in a way. Like I basically realized I accepted I was really ignorant to things like even just taxes. Yeah. Or like you could form a corporation and receive all these tax breaks on all these capital gains and whatnot, money you make from investments, things like that. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, I know there's all these little hacks out there that you just need the knowledge of them in order to use them. And I was like, I'm aware enough to be like, I never cared about that. I don't know anything about that. Yeah. So now I'm going to develop those skills. But one of like my point was, you know, you talking about the podcasting is I was like, yeah, like all these people are like, oh, I had mentors and like you need a mentor, this and that. And I was like, yeah, that would make a lot of sense. But it's kind of like a different environment today to kind of do that. But I was thinking like the podcasting thing, that's why I said it's genius, is because something like that, dude, I could easily find these people that I'm like, yeah, you know way more than me. You've done way more than me in this area. Jump on this podcast or whatever. I know you're stoked to talk about yourself. Like, I know you're stoked to talk about the things you've done.
1,000,000%.
And I'm going to basically inadvertently steal that knowledge. Like, I'm going to get that knowledge that I want, but you're going to be fully down, especially in this environment.
That's what I say, dude.
I recognize, like,
this is Spark Notes for me.
Yeah.
This is a cheat sheet to my life.
Exactly.
I curate everyone I want on here. Like,
Exactly.
I don't have to
Like,
have
it's-
random people that like will hit me up and want to come on here. It's like, I just say,
Yeah.
I don't do it. I only have on people that I want because
Yeah.
like, I don't have notes. Like, I don't really like have questions set up. Like, I have some questions here because we have people that were submitting questions in, but it's like, my goal for this is to be present in the conversation rather than like think of a bunch of shit in the beginning. Yeah. It's like, yeah, I develop like you were saying, like ways to initiate conversation and like points I want to highlight on, but I just want to be present because, you know, I knew that like I was going to be talking to you. So it's like, I just think about you and think about, you know, what makes me interested in you. And I think like, you know, from the beginning, whenever I met you, I think I followed you before that. I knew that you were just like dropping hammers on all this shit. It's like one up, sharing all your stuff. I think that's exactly how I like came across you. But then I met you and talked to you and like, you know, you were just like, you were shy, seemed like the first time I met you. It's like you didn't talk too much, but like every time I talked to you after that, it's like opened up a little bit more and a little bit more. And it's like you were saying you were looking at what I was doing, but it's like, dude, I keep tabs on every single person, whether I follow you or not.
Yeah,
it's like I know what's going on. And I know that there's people that I don't know about, but like I see the people that are putting in work and that are just like, you know, not even necessarily, but just like enjoying their life while they're doing it. And it's like, I see that from like what you do and like what you post online. And I feel like that from someone, you say you just turned 25. It's like, I had no idea what I was just like trying to figure out what I wanted to do, but you kind of been on the path for a while now.
Yeah. Thankfully, like early on, I always felt like I started skating super late compared to most people. But,
when?
I was like, I think 14 or something. Which,
are you from Ohio?
Yeah, I'm from Akron, Ohio, like where LeBron James grew up and stuff. Actually, like same neighborhood as where he had grown up at the time. Yeah,
that's pretty wild.
Yeah, it was sick, dude. Like I got like some of those West Coast chopper bicycles, like from LeBron before and stuff. Like,
oh my god,
'cause he used to do so much charity stuff out there. Before
I bet.
It was super blown up. But,
man, that's crazy to think about that.
Yeah, it was pretty wild, dude.
When did you? How did you even like start getting ties to Pittsburgh? Like, when did that come in? Super late.
Yeah, it's kind of a bizarre story of how I even ended up out here. Because I basically Akron, Ohio. There's not really any skate scene. At least by the time I had started, there was like a generation before me, like all the fuck yins dudes out here. Like it would have been that same time frame.
Okay.
When those dudes were kids and just starting filming. And by the time I started skating, there was no skate shop out there. There was like one BMX park, super shitty. So there's basically nothing there. So once YouTube started having skate videos on it, I naturally saw a lot of Pittsburgh footage. And so I knew of all those dudes since I had a couple years of skating. And so I was always watching their videos and stuff and like, damn, like, Pittsburgh is sick. And as a child, I used to come to Pittsburgh a lot just to go to the museums. Or have you ever heard of Raccoon Creek Skate Park?
Yeah.
I used to go camping there all the time as like a real little kid.
Hell
we
yeah.
would like camp there, drive into Oakland, go to the history museum, go to the library. Like, cause there's some sick museums out here. So I used to spend a lot of time here. And then I started skating and was in Akron, growing up there and stuff. And
well, let me elaborate on this. So I'm going to stop you a bunch and like touch on things.
Yeah.
I want to know like how your initiation into skating happened.
Yeah, that's a funny story too. I like so where I grew up in Akron is actually I guess you could say a pretty like ghetto or a pretty hood area. Like, it was pretty bad, honestly.
Yeah.
And my family, I have a pretty big family, 5 brothers and sisters. So it's 3 boys, 3 girls.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm the oldest son. So
oh, you're the oldest of all of them.
I have 2 older sisters by like a year and then 4 years.
Oh, yeah.
But
okay.
I'm the oldest son, so I was the oldest, you know, and I was the one with the responsibility. And so on a side note, like, they were also like my father got diagnosed with MS and a bunch of other like I I guess, illnesses when I turned like 5. So like my family had money when I was like a toddler, couldn't like really enjoy it. And then my dad became disabled, couldn't work. They have this huge family.
Yeah.
So that's when we ended up moving back to Akron, and then we're just like in the slums of the city.
Yeah.
We're just like struggling through it. And so basically through all of that, I was like 13 or something. And my parents were, you know, making me go to church and whatnot. And there was this, at the time, it was insane because it was this LGBT, like, open church that was in the middle of this, like, gnarly hood in Akron, Ohio. And especially back then, that's like 10 or so years ago when it was not as accepted as, like, today it has to be, you know?
Yeah,
so
for
it's
sure.
like crazy that even existed, and then in a place like that. And so I started going there to, like, a couple of their, I guess, youth group ceremonies or whatnot. And there was some youth pastor there who skated before. And so they somehow had this budget they had inherited from someone that went there and had passed away. So they had like some crazy budget in the middle of this like
low
slum
income
city.
area.
Yeah. And so like I was going there, and the dude was just super stoked on me. And he was like, yo, like, I'm going to try to convince the church to buy a bunch of boards and like build a couple, you know, shitty wooden ramps. Like, are you down with that? Would you want to try? And I'd always been kind of interested in skating, you know, just back then you could only see it on like X Games or contests. Like
Video
it didn't
games and
exist
shit.
like now, dude. Like it's so different now. And so I got my first skateboard. It was a hand-me-down Bam Margera Element board from this youth pastor at this crazy church in Slum City. And that's like where it all
crazy.
started. Yeah.
Bam Margera board.
Yeah, it was like already skating. So they bought like all these new boards, and I ended up with the already skated like 10-year-old board.
That's dope though.
Yeah, that board was probably, looking back, legendary. Like all the Bam boards are insane.
I feel like I read an article that said like at one point he was making like $1 million a day off of boards, or like a week or something
Probably.
like that.
He still has the record, I believe, for like the highest selling boards in history still.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about like the front of like, you know, that whole like movement and like heartograms and like Element and like I feel like that
Such
like
a different time.
it really was, because like I try to think of like how I kind of got into like the world of skating, and it's like I had one kid in McKeesport who was just like nasty. He was just like I remember one time we were sitting in a parking lot of a church, and he did like, you know, we were probably like 14, 15, and he was just doing tray flip after tray flip after tray flip, got to 13, and then like went to do the last one and just didn't do it. But like he was the only kid that I knew that was like ever doing any sort of like flip tricks, grinding down like sets, anything like that. And he just like, you know, I was just good friends with him. So it's naturally like I wanted to be like him even more.
Exactly.
So like we would just always hang out, you know, always just like random places skating. And like, it was just like, I remember thinking like Tony Hawk was a big deal, like the game. And like, that was like a big movement that got like more people into skating.
Definitely.
But I do remember like Bam Margera and like all the heartogram stuff and Element and Jackass and everything. It's like, I really feel like that was like, you know, the seed that like kind of got planted in a lot of, you know, people that were like, obviously I'm like 6 years older than you. So it's like, it was still even more different before that.
Yeah. And it was kind of like, just as far as like culture in general, it was such a changing time compared to anything prior. Like even just the whole like Jackass phenomena, and the fact that was even a thing and the impact it had, like it would never be the same way today if that had started or something.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's also funny because like, so I had that influence from that dude, and he's obviously like super down with like Bam and Jackass and all that. And I'd never seen any of that before. So I was like,
was your household like kind of like, were you kind of like, not like, were you like not allowed to watch like rated R shit and like?
Kind of when I was younger, like I did have a pretty strict like upbringing in a way, but it wasn't really like that. Like my mom didn't really care like what I listened to or what I would watch. But like there was a long time, like when I first started skating, I was never allowed to go on trips or anything with all my friends. Or my friends, they started coming to Pittsburgh when I still lived at home because I like convinced them it'd be so sick because I would watch the skate videos here, but my mom wouldn't let me go with them. So all those assholes used to come out here like on my idea, and they'd be like, yeah, look at all these clips we got and stuff. And I'm like, like, this is fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Like, she was super strict in a way that I don't think my mom ever really wanted us to like end up leaving. You know?
It's understandable.
Yeah, like looking back, you know, I wouldn't change anything because it's, you know, what
how you
brought
became
me here.
How
but
you are.
yeah, definitely a lot. I had a very unique upbringing though, in a few ways.
Well, so whenever you kind of got into skating and like you're doing the like the youth group thing, it's like I did that for a while. I understand like what that, you know, that whole like, you know, that whole like thing is as far as like youth group. It's like, I mean, it's more than, you know, you go hang out there. It's like, that's like a part of like what you do. And, you know, you getting into skating from that, it's pretty interesting to hear. It's like, that was like kind of the avenue of it. Did you immediately like gravitate towards it or?
Yeah. So basically like I was always interested, like I said, like when the X Games would come on, I'd be like, oh, like, I want to see this dude on this crazy ramp or whatever. And I was like, yeah, that'd be sick to do that one day. And then it was years later that I actually got a board. And I'm sorry, you had said, is that what initially made me gravitate towards it? Was that time?
No, not even that. It's just like whenever you got the skateboard and you started skating, it's like you're pretty
over after that.
Yeah, I mean, you're pretty good. I was wondering like, from the beginning, it's like that's something that you gravitated towards from the beginning?
Yeah, so also it might be worth noting like one of the reasons I kind of got pushed into going to that youth group in the first place was for high school, I ended up being what's called like unschooled, basically like homeschooling.
Really?
But I became my own teacher and I became like licensed in a way that I would interact on a yearly basis with people who are licensed to deal with that. Because my area was so bad that my mom, like I said, like she didn't
want you to go to school.
Didn't even want me going to the local like high school, and because I mean I grew up like having to deal with I was like the only white family like within that whole section of the city as well, and so like it was kind of gnarly at times before I got a bunch of street cred later, but yeah, so that's like one of the reasons I got pushed there was kind of like just to go do something with other
a little bit
normal
different
people. Yeah, because that youth group service thing too, like it was not like a church youth group thing. Like kids in there were, you know, they'd be selling like weed and whatnot to literally the youth group pastor and stuff like that.
So,
like,
it
was still hood in there, but it was like all of us hood kids would go here, get free snacks because of that budget. They got all the newest video games and equipment. So it was basically like pulling up to like the hangout spot in the slum city.
Yeah.
And so through that, I got the board. And then once I got the board, I instantly was like, yeah, like this is what I really want to do right now. And I just started running with it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
Dude, it's super wild. I could like get more detailed on some of it, but
I'm
we don't
curious.
have enough time.
I know, but I'm curious about like, you know, so you said that it was like, you know, a rap after that. You immediately get it. And it's like, what is your approach to it? It's like, are you someone that like works in the way of like seeing what other people do and you're trying to, or it's like, how are you learning how to fucking ollie and stuff like that? It's like, do you have someone teaching you?
No, not really, honestly. Cause the youth pastor who got the boards initially, he wasn't very good at all, honestly. Like, I feel like he hadn't skated for years and he was still like, oh, like jackass, bam, like this is pretty sick. Like, are you down to skate with me if I get boards? So that's kind of how it really went in the beginning. And also back then, like it was a time where you couldn't just see skating and I didn't have a skate shop. So there was no local videos. There was nowhere to even buy like a DVD of a skate video for a few years for me. So like, when I first started skating, it was everyone would probably laugh if I had clips from back then because the kind of skating I was doing was like completely different. Like I'm looking at like Rodney Mullen doing like bonelesses and weird freestyle skate, like flat ground shit. And that's what I was doing at first. And I'm like figuring out how to like roll up curbs and whatnot. But the one thing I will say is the youth pastor dude, whether it was for his sake or not, he was always like, he was super supportive of our skating. And like, I think me and my other friend who started at the same time, still my best friend, he like would always push us in a way that he's like, oh, like you guys could totally be like big names, or like be sponsored, or like have your own board or something. So I think from when I first started, I like immediately had that spark of like, what I love about skating is the endless progression of it. It's not really about, especially today, everyone is so good. Like, you can't just be good at skating anymore. There's a million other things that factor into it, and the fact that you will never learn everything that is possible on it. Like, you simply don't have enough time, like in your life, to do that. There's a million different ways you can do something. There's a million different ways your own creativity changes a trick, or what spot you can do a trick on and whatnot. And so from the time before I could actually ollie or anything, I had that passion just for the endless learning of it. And I think that's how I got at least somewhat good now, you know?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's cool to think about it that way. It's like, it's an endless way to keep progressing at something. It's just like a tool. It's like a woodcarver's knife. It's like you can make anything with it as much as you want to get involved with it. Go as far as you want.
And like, even like what we were kind of talking about loosely when I first got here, like I feel like I kind of have that mentality just in general with everything in my life. Like, you know, even like how I said, learning from you or watching your progression and whatnot, like I'm obsessed with that. It's the fact of the endless progression and being aware of the fact that we will never know everything about anything. You know, like if I spent the rest of my life just reading as many books as I possibly could, I wouldn't read every book. I couldn't listen to all the music in the world. I couldn't do every skate trick that could possibly be done. So to constantly be striving towards that progression or learning at least as much as I can with what I have, that's like what gets me really psyched about it.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like an artist, you know, how artist says like a piece is never done, you know, like they can just work on it forever. That's true.
Yeah.
Because people are going to, you know, in time, you're going to change the way that you are. Yeah. So like minorly that you're not going to notice it, but it's, you know, look at the way we were like 10 years ago, like you said.
Exactly.
It's like, look at how skating was like back in like the mid 2000s. I mean, even in like the 80s and shit, it's like when Rodney Mullen did like the first like, you know, ollie type shit, it's like people were like, what the fuck is that? Yeah. And now you have like 8-year-old like girls in the Olympics just like,
dude, yeah,
you know,
it's
just
insane,
shitting on
dude.
Everything.
Skating is really crazy now.
That youth pastor, that's crazy that like, you know, that was like,
there's some crazy stories behind like all of that and all the inner workings and stuff.
I bet, but that's just like a wild, like, you know, origin story of it all. It's like, you know, just hanging out at a spot and you just randomly got a skateboard put in your hand.
Yeah. And then on top of it, like I started to get so good at teaching myself, like in school, and, you know, like,
what's that like? You know, you said that you were like kind of like self-taught, and I feel like that I almost don't want to like dive down that path because I feel like it's pretty loaded, but I've heard of being homeschooled, you know, like I've talked to people who were homeschooled, but I never heard of people that like, you know, were self-learn. What do you call it? Self-learning?
They call it unschooling.
Unschooling.
I'll quickly go through, I guess, a brief breakdown of it. Like initially I was technically homeschooled, which when you're doing that, it mainly means like you're operating off textbooks and in most cases the exact same schooling that they do at your local public schools, just at your house. And so I did that for like maybe a year or so. And like I said, I have 5 other siblings.
Were they all?
Yeah, at that time they all were. Like some of my siblings, they never went to even kindergarten.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's kind of how over like protective in a way my mom was and whatnot. And so anyway, she's got her hands full doing all of that, all these textbooks and whatnot. So I was old enough at that time that I was like, I got switched to doing unschooling, which basically is like, you don't use any textbooks at all. They're there if I want to, but I essentially had to pass a number of tests throughout the year, and then at the end of the year, have a licensed person in that field come in, test me, review all my scores, and be like, okay, I sign off that you learned enough this year to move into this next grade. or to graduate.
Jeez.
Yeah, and so like
I've never even heard of that.
yeah, it's super bizarre, dude, especially at that time, because even then, like, the internet still was nothing that it is now. Like,
Yeah.
we basically all could do that easily now, just with Google.
I know, it's pretty wild to think about that.
Yeah.
I never heard of the whole, like, I never heard of the way that you did it, though.
Yeah,
Like, it's pretty crazy.
It's pretty unique.
Did you feel that you had a, you know, I mean, I guess I can't even call it adequate because of the garbage that I learned in school. You know,
Yeah.
probably like 80% of it is moot at this point.
Yeah.
But it's like, did you feel like that you had like an adequate education that way?
Yeah, and that was always the main question people would try ask my mom or like parents and whatnot, is they would try grill them about that. And it's funny because so I had to take all these tests, like I said, and then the annual test and whatnot. And my scores would always actually be so high, like higher for this whole region of the country, that like they would always try to get me to like fly out to like the West Coast and stuff to compete in these like I don't know what you would even call it. Like basically they take all the scores from like the entire country. I had some of the highest scores for these exams in the whole country, to where they wanted me to go do some whole other separate thing, almost like, you know, you have a spelling bee or something.
Yeah, like a mathlete type
yeah,
shit?
some random shit like that.
Yeah.
So I was like, I always was like, I don't know if I'm, you know, that smart really.
Did you enjoy school?
then-
Like, were you like someone that like...
At that point I did, because that's why I think it was a lot better than I learned a lot more than I would have, especially in the school I would have gone to.
Yeah.
Like all my friends went there. I was like a cool kid at that school, but I never had to go to it, you know? And I definitely learned more because I learned in my own way, especially once I was teaching myself.
Yeah.
So like I would do things like I would still look at, you know, textbooks sometimes just because I'm like, yeah, I know the test is going to reference this or that. But I would go read like books that I was actually inspired by. I'd watch like a lot. I loved like watching documentaries to learn and stuff. And so like I would do all kinds of crazy shit like that, or like go on trips and stuff. And I'd be like, oh, let's go to Florida, and we'd spend a week there going to like all these historical like land sites, like the historical forts, and learn about the battles that have happened there, things like that. So it was like really immersive, and you're learning about things you're actually interested in. You're not just reading a textbook that you know you're going to get tested on, and you're just memorizing answers that you're going to forget about.
I literally just posted something today about it. It was like a meme, and it was just like, you know, basically it's boiling down to like, you know, dumb shit. Like, I want to learn how to like do my taxes and write a check. I don't want to learn about fucking mitochondria.
Dude,
you know?
Yeah, totally.
It's just like, it's so crazy to think about that because I've never heard of it. So it's kind of like, I'm almost like taken aback that was
Yeah.
like an option to do that. Now with obviously, you know, intelligence wasn't like something that you were hindered on. Now, what about like a social aspect of it all? It's like,
yeah, that's the main thing. The second main thing people would always say is like, oh, like they're going to be weird, or like I knew other people who were homeschooled that they were definitely hindered.
did you think you
by
were
that.
weird?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Like I said, I became one of the cool kids at the school. I just didn't have to wake up and go to it.
Yeah.
Like, especially once skating came in.
Yeah, because it's like you knew all these kids that were going to that school
I was
there.
so much more connected. Like I could go to all their like high school parties. I could go
Wow.
do whatever, and they were all stoked because they're like, damn, like as far as they know, I'm just doing whatever I want.
Yeah.
I'd go teach myself a few things, be like, this is good for today, and I'd go fucking skate.
Wow.
And they're still in school. And half my friends did well in school, and they wouldn't even like, they literally wouldn't learn anything. They would tell me like, yeah, this is how it works. Like tomorrow's a test day, so I'm going to go through all of these chapters that they've already highlighted.
Yep.
And I'm going to test well, and I'm going to make it.
Yeah, dude, you're serving time
Like,
there. That's literally all it is. You're serving time.
So in a way, like it could have been like worse, but because of like how I found my passion so early on, and how I was, you know, just drawn to, I actually wanted to learn just on my own terms. It worked really well for me.
That's super cool to hear about. It's like, because I feel like that obviously there's a opposite to everything. So obviously people that could be, you know, functioning the way that you are could function that way. But I'm sure that there's people that went through that were just like, you know, shut-ins who just like, you know, didn't develop socially. And I mean, obviously there's pros and cons to all of it, but that's really interesting to hear about. Yeah. So skating was like a big part of like, you know, your life since that point. Like you're spending a lot of time skating since that point of getting that board.
I was obsessed. Yeah.
Wow. What did your, you know, so, I mean, forgive me for even asking this. I know you said your dad was sick, but it's like, you know, was he around? Like, is he still around?
Yeah, he's still alive.
Okay.
He's gotten a lot worse in the last few years, but, you know, it kind of just is what it is.
Yeah.
I had to deal with, I don't know. I went through a lot really early on in my life.
It seems like
even
that.
before skating, honestly, because, you know, I was 5 at the time that all of that happened. And
I know that's like, it's a beast to deal with.
And on top of it, like, it wasn't even like I was just an only child or something. Like, then I have 5 other siblings, and like, dude, we couldn't even go get like dollar menu things from McDonald's and whatnot. It was just crazy. It was super
it's like I didn't
different.
And I don't mean to like even like pry into your life like that, but I feel like it tells like, you know, a lot more about you, because like, you know, just because I only have my assumptions of you that I've built in my head over the last 4 years of like, you know, following you.
And that's what's interesting is like, even like the whole unschooling thing for that chapter of my life, like nobody would ever guess that. Or like I have other friends who skated back then and they were homeschooled, and they'd get made fun of because they were weird. They didn't know how to interact with people. Nobody ever even knew that was my thing. Or I've never once told like my sob story about my parents or my dad or anything abusive or any poverty, this and that. And like, nobody needs to know, but it's just interesting because so much of our life now, especially with social media and whatnot, we only know what people allow us to.
Yeah, these are highlight reels.
Yeah, so people definitely have, whether good or bad, their perception of me or who I am or where they think I've come from.
Yeah.
And they probably will never actually know any of that.
And that's like one of the things that I want to come through with this podcast is like, you know, people are posting highlight reels of their life. You know, they're not going to post like, oh, I'm, you know, $10,000 in debt, you know, oh, you know, my relationship's struggling. You know, people are only posting things where it's like, oh, I'm on a trip, you know, we're having a great time.
Yeah, exactly.
And that in turn, like, you know, we're all like, you know, the world's brain is getting rewired into like thinking. I love
that you use that phrase, rewired. That's so good.
It is because like if you think about it, it's like if you're just seeing highlights from everyone, it's like I feel like, you know, I don't really think like this, but you know, at times I see myself slipping into it. It's like I'm not doing things good enough to be where this person is. You know, if I see someone like traveling to fucking Italy or something to skate, you know, it's like, wow, how the fuck are people doing this? And I'm working my ass off here. But it's like, you know, on the turn of the coin, it's like we don't know about everyone's life. It's just interesting, like you were saying, you know, to kind of learn about people's lives from the perceptions that we build up from them. Yeah.
And especially with me, like sometimes I'll, because most of what I post or anything, like any presence virtually that I have, like I wouldn't say, I don't really cater things to try show like a highlight reel.
Yeah.
But I think most of anything I care to even post or share probably does come off that way though.
1,000,000%.
So
that fucking trick like, you posted today, it's just you stomping some nasty ass trick that's just like, hey, that's chaos that like people are like, what, this is insane that you're even doing it. So it's like, that's a highlight from an outsider's point of view.
Yeah.
It's like, you're not posting you getting fucking, you know, worked, falling, you know, like wrecking your van or some shit like that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people do it at times, but it's like, you know, overall, that's like kind of like the general consensus of it all. I think
that's the thing that I probably don't like the most about where all of it is going is that people you're not really allowed to go in depth anymore either. It's not even just, we've gone so far into the rewiring of just having these highlight reels that it's not even just that you do that, it's that you're not allowed to show anything that's not anymore.
Yeah, any like vulnerability. You're
Yeah,
like, oh, is this person like, you know,
which is only like rewiring us to be even more superficial
and
in a
like
way.
callous.
Yeah, it all kind of builds onto each other like that, or like you were saying, the comparisons and whatnot. And it's like we can all sit here and know that that's a biased comparison.
Yeah.
We know that we're showing these highlight reels and whatnot, but also like, dude, you don't feel like you're allowed to even show any of that deeper.
Yeah.
You know,
and
part
it's
of
like,
you.
if you do show that deeper part of you, it's almost like, you know, taking off your mask and like kind of
Yeah.
like letting people like see you almost, I don't know. It's weird because it's like, I, like you, have been like, I truly feel I've been coming into my own mentally, spiritually over the last like, you know, 5, 6, 7 years. And I really just like start to realize that like, I don't know why I spent a lot of the time doing the things that I did in the past, because, you know, I talk to people about how they do things. Like the other day I interviewed, Josh Getzoff. He's the announcer for the Penguins. Okay. And this dude,
Sick.
I was talking to him about it and I'm like, you know, it's from a young age, he knew he wanted to be in broadcasting and shit like that. And to like have that presence of mind to know what you want to do from a very young age. I never had that. I never had that until I was like, I still don't have it really.
Yeah.
You know, I know that I want to do this now. But
Yeah.
before that, I never had it. And it's just like kind of mind blowing to talk to people that were like more in touch with like themselves, like yourself. It's like,
Yeah,
you know,
that's interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting.
because think about it like this. It's like 90% of the, I say it every time on this podcast, 90% of the people I talk about on here are doing things that they never expected that they would do in their life, that they just kind of fell into it.
Yeah.
It's random and it's a rare and it's a beautiful thing whenever someone young knows like, oh, I want to be a chef.
Yeah.
And like they do it from like a young age to where they are now. I want to be a professional skateboarder. It's
Yeah.
like they know from a young age, like I'm going to make some shit shake with this.
Yeah.
And it's interesting and it like gives me chills to like hear things like that from
Dude,
people.
No, me too. I think it's really powerful, and I think that's why I dove in so deep with skating as well. Like, not to get too deep, but I think in a way like that's what I actually needed at that time. Maybe it could have been something else, but I think I needed something at that time to fully immerse in and to see a future with and to grow with.
Yeah.
Like I've always said, you know, I'm so grateful that most people, they never even find a passion, but
Yeah.
I found one early on. But in a way, you know, that part of that was probably me coping with some of what was actually happening as a child growing up in that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that was my ticket to all
Escape.
right, like shit's good now.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm gonna do this and love it.
Yeah. You're going to manifest it, cultivate something different.
Yeah.
Did you ever want to do anything, you know, before skating? Like, did you ever have dreams? Like, whenever you're young, you obviously like think about things.
When I was a little kid, everyone always said, and I always would say, I was going to be a super successful businessman.
Yeah.
Because I grew up with basically nothing.
Yeah.
And so I was always like, yeah, I'm going to be rich. I didn't even know what it meant at that time, but I was like, yeah, I'm going to be a businessman. I'm going to be doing my thing.
Huh.
And, yeah, then I started skating and was like, yeah, I don't really care about anything other than doing what I want. And then now I've kind of come full circle in a way, almost to where, like maybe last year, I started to go through some changes with basically just what I wanted from skating and whatnot. Like now I don't really care about being like a sponsored skater or professional in a way. I kind of made it far enough towards that childhood goal that I had to sit back and reevaluate. Like this goal worked for me when I needed it these years, and it's got me here and amazing experiences and stuff. But at one point last year, actually, when I had first gone on the van trip and lived on the road for a few months, I was on my way to a big meeting with one of my sponsors, and just along the trip, like I was having all these crazy experiences, and just like I could feel something like inside of me, like something powerful. And that's kind of what catalyzed like some of the changes I've been going through. And basically I just started sitting down and redefining like why did I ever want to pursue this? Why was I so sparked by this? What is it I wanted as a child to gain from this?
Skating, you mean?
Yeah, skating.
Yeah.
And I just kind of realized, like, I don't really care about being, like, people probably think I'm really serious about winning contests or being sponsored or going pro. Like, that's probably the persona my virtual self would give off from people who don't actually know me. But the reality is, like I said earlier, I'm just obsessed with constant learning and progression. And now I kind of just, everything I ever wanted from skating or hoped to get from it, I just want to do it on my own terms. Like, I want to be my own, like, professional, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
and
it does.
That's kind of why I've been doing more with even just financial, like, literacy and making money and this and that, because I don't want to be dependent on Adidas or somebody to give me like credit or give me something I feel I already deserve. To me, like, I looked at what I ever wanted from skating and what I loved about it, and I was like, all right, so what am I going to do to just go do everything I ever wanted? And that's what I've been doing the last 2 years, and I've been so much happier.
Yeah.
Just doing what I actually care about. And it's preserving the fact that skateboarding is a passion for me. And that's what I think is the most important role of it.
It's so interesting to hear people talk about their passions kind of cross that line into being a job.
Yeah.
Because people do things and they become passions, but those passion, there's a fine line that gets drawn at some point where you want to turn your passion into something that's paying your bills. And it's such like a scary time to approach because as someone who is passionate about something and has just morals and you want to stick to the morals, like for me, it's like I've had random people hit me up, like I'm a construction company. Like would if I pay you money, will you do an ad read?
I'm sure you get that.
And it's like, nah, dude, like it will devalue this product. So it's like, I'm very particular about how I want to muddy the waters of passion with monetary gains. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I have a lot of respect for that. Yeah.
And I'm not even like saying like, oh, I'm getting all kinds of offers, because I ain't. But it's like,
no, but
if shit,
that's a real thing though, and it also can cross a line to where it's like, you not only can taint something, and I've seen it happen to people. Even with skating, I've seen it happen so many times to so many people. That
the goal of things, kind of gets, it's like you put on blinders. You're just like, oh, I need to make money. I need to do all this, and it's like,
especially with skating, bro, like it's probably one of the worst industries in the marketplace. Like skating is a terrible industry to try build longevity and real financial security or anything like that. Like it's terrible for that.
Yeah. I mean, like there's all kinds of reasons it's terrible. I mean, look at the saturation, like across the board of everything, podcasts, there's a new one every day. Skaters, new one every literally new ones being born every day. And it's interesting to think about that, because I used to be, nervous about that. And I used to worry myself as far as, what are other people doing? But like, not even whenever I did the podcast, but like whenever I had a clothing line before this, it's like, I was always like super in tune to what other people were doing. And like, I just never, and there was a point in time in my life where I just like where I stopped caring what other people were doing, because, if you're trying to like model yourself after someone, it's like there's already someone like that. It's like I'm doing stuff that isn't even like my choice, my passion. It's like other people are influencing me in ways that I don't even like recognize. So it was a point in time where I was just like, I just don't care about other people anymore. And it's like I care about people, but I don't care about like peers that are doing the same type of shit, because it's like I don't want to like bite off of things. I don't want to like, take like unintentional inspiration in a certain way. I don't want to like waste time worrying about what other people are doing, because it gives me less time to concentrate on what I love. Yeah,
it's almost like you don't want to sacrifice the creative process of yourself to try please someone else's perception of you.
100%.
And that's with skating, like what kind of happened to me a year or two ago. And I was just sitting there and I was like, dude, it's not even about who's the best anymore. I was sitting there with one of my sponsors and they're kind of saying some wild shit to me at the time. And I was just like, well, dude, like all I care about is skating, learning, and filming. Like I love street skating and filming, and that's why I thought any of this was fun in the first place. And I was like, I don't want my role of, I guess, success to be dependent upon a million people's interpretation of me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to change what tricks I like to do because for this month, everybody on Instagram is hyped on these 5 tricks.
Yeah.
I'm not going to change the way I dress. I'm not going to change the way I talk to people. Like, at that point, you're sacrificing your own creative genuineness and yourself and your passion. And I was like, yeah, I literally told someone before, I was like, I don't expect you to be able to pay me enough money to be worth jeopardizing that to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll never ask you for that much because I don't think you can do it.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't even be worth it.
That's pretty interesting to think about like that.
Yeah, I mean, especially with social media and stuff, bro. Like,
because people's perception are their own. Like they have their own perception. What you try to cater towards them is, it doesn't matter what you say. People are going to interpret it their own way.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not. And it's wild to think about that.
Yeah.
Now, you said skating, like when did you realize that like, you were a little bit different at skating? Like, did it come early or were you like, grinding hard and like, when did you realize that like, you were able to make some shit happen as far as like, being good? Was that like something apparent? Like, cause you hear people that are like savants that are like, oh yeah, I jumped on a board and I'm like, I was cool. I was good at it.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think it really happened that way for me. Like even today, like I don't exactly see myself as being super good at skating.
You don't have to see yourself like that. It's your job not to see yourself like that.
I guess that's true.
Because, that would kind of make you a fucking asshole if you were like,
right?
Blowing your own smoke.
Yeah.
But you're really good, obviously. But it's interesting to like, there's so many people that are like out in this world that are so good. Yeah. The people that are actually like out there that are like, really good, that are like that you could tell. What I'm saying is it's a harder battle to get to where you are. I
guess a way to answer that for me, like I think there was a point in time where I realized not necessarily I'm good, but
potential.
I'm unique.
Yeah, I
think I realized that.
Okay,
and that's what felt like good to me. Like when I started skating, I had a lot of different influences at first, like we discussed.
That was my next question. It's like, where are you getting your influences from?
Yeah, so basically there was none for the first few years.
Yeah.
And then, YouTube had become a thing and there was some skating on there.
Well, in the first few years of you skating, it's like, what are you doing? It's like, are you just skating curbs? Are you just trying to ollie off curbs?
I had a few wooden ramps that we built in the garage of said church.
Yeah.
And we would drag them out into the asphalt parking lot and we would just skate them. Huh. We would just roll right off the top, not even ollie.
Yeah.
I'd do like flat ground manuals, not even popping into them.
Yeah.
And then my best friend to this day, Isaiah Jones, he started skating a year after me. And it was him that, that's when everything really changed, I guess, actually. It was, he was completely different than me in the way that he skated. He was a basketball player, and he saw me skating inside the church gymnasium at the youth group, whatever thing. And he was super stoked, asked me to borrow my board. I told him no. I wouldn't let anyone touch my board. I was like super obsessed at the time, like a little kid. And so he started skating, and he was the one that he became obsessed with skaters like Paul Rodriguez and dudes like that, if you've heard of them, like all the main brand people.
Yeah.
I didn't even know existed at the time. I'm still reading Rodney Mullen's book from like 15 years ago, you know? I read like a couple actual Tony Hawk biographies, because to me there was no content to see or watch or hear at the time. And so through skating with him, we were like tight like brothers from the start, like the first day we met. And it was us. We both shared that hunger for that consistent, nonstop progression. And so we started feeding off of each other. Like for 1 year, he'd be way better than me and doing tricks I didn't even know existed yet. And so I'd be like, well, fuck, like I can't let this dude like get up on me like that. Like, fuck. And so then I'd grind out for a year and I'd have a bunch of tricks he couldn't do. And it just went back and forth like that for a few years until we got to a point that we were like, damn, like we can get in the streets now and start filming. Like now people want to come to Akron to film us in a place with no skate scene because they recognize there's something different with us.
Now, are you talking about like through Instagram? Is that how people were known about you?
Instagram had just kind of started around that time. So no, it was still just really through word of mouth back then.
Wow.
Like people
that's even so much
north
cooler.
In Cleveland. Yeah. And to them, like we were all just came off as just some try-hard kids in the middle of nothing, Akron.
Did you feel, whenever you were younger getting into it, that it was an intimidating scene to try to get into? Because I feel like it has that.
Definitely.
It
especially
definitely carries
in that
that
time frame too. Even today, like
yeah,
in
for
Pittsburgh
sure.
still. But
it's definitely more accepting now, I feel, in Pittsburgh than it was like maybe 10 years ago, because
it's more accepting in Pittsburgh now than it was last year.
I've said this numerous times. Like I grew up in McKeesport next to, we had our own skate shop, but like we never came to One Up. It's like when we came to One Up, we did not feel welcome there.
Yeah.
It's like we thought that those dudes were assholes. I've told Greg this, it was just different because like there wasn't like a sense of community that there is now. And even though it's cliquey still, there's still more of a sense of community.
And it's become a lot better in the last like 6 to 8 months. I'm actually really excited to be out here for this year. I don't think I'm going to travel this summer as much just because I want to be here with everyone and like work on filming out here.
Yeah.
So I'm really stoked because it hasn't always been that way here, especially when I moved here.
Yeah, because if you're in Ohio too, it's like you come out here. Did you?
Yeah.
Like, so your transition out here, was it like a positive one, or did you have to work for acceptance out here?
It definitely had to work. Yeah.
I figured you would.
And I mean, I think at this point more than anything, it's just maybe like forced acceptance in a way. Because the only thing with me, like I said earlier, like I've never been willing to like really compromise any part of myself for anything or anyone outside of me. So even like moving here, I've seen a lot of other people move here and they're accepted maybe faster or easier, but they're also, compromised parts of themselves to get to that point. Like me, I moved out here completely unaffiliated with what was already going on here.
Yeah.
And I was fine with getting hated on at first. I was fine with still not being accepted by certain people or this or that. It didn't matter to me because I'm in my lane doing my thing for what makes me happy.
Yeah.
And so I think for a while, I think that like made some select people even less open because I wasn't somebody coming in, just like,
trying to conform.
You're sick as fuck and like, yo, like let me fucking D-ride you or something to think I'm cool. Like I've never done that.
Yeah. And that makes it worth so much more. It makes it worth more, not to like other people, but to like yourself, because I understand what that means, because it's like, I get what you're saying though, as far as like, it's easy to just say like, oh dude, like you're the fucking best. Like heard about you, just to try to be welcome into places. And like, I feel like, it's a common thing. Like people have definitely done that in one time in our life, but it's cool to like hear the way that you like process things, because I feel like the way that you come off to me from what I see online is like, I don't get the whole, like, whenever you were saying like, oh, I'm not trying to like, be a try hard to like be sponsored or whatever. It's like, that's not how you come off to me.
Really?
Yeah. I feel like that you're very like, introspective, like kind of philosophical, kind of, like I don't get like a weird vibe like that.
I like to
you.
think I seem fairly genuine.
You do.
Like,
you really honestly do. And like I feel like that it comes off like that. Maybe you have a different perception of the way that you come off online, because like I honestly don't get that at all. And there's people that I follow, probably in the same crowd that you are, that like you get a different feeling from if you see, them posting shit.
I hear that. Yeah.
But it's interesting. I mean, I just love the way people are and like how everyone's so unique and different. Like how they carry themselves, how they portray themselves, and it's interesting to kind of see it progress as people become, more of who they are as they get older.
That's what I love seeing. Like, I feel like I'm kind of, like you said, always watching in a way. Like I've known so many people now for like so long, like 5 to 10 years is long enough during like, your early 20s and whatnot to really see people develop.
Yeah.
And I'm like the kind of person that, even if something ends on bad terms or this and that, like my goal is to have all these friends I have right now, like 20 years from now, or like I want to see what everyone's doing 10 years. My goal is to 10 years from now, give everybody I've known forever opportunities that I didn't get or something. You know what I mean? So like for me, like any friendship I have, the goal is to be a lifelong friendship, and it's just really interesting to me to sit back and just be like an observer and watch how everyone else kind of handles life and what their reactions are, because like you said, everyone is so different, and some people handle things a lot more poorly than others, and some people end up doing full 180s and doing really well for themselves, and I just love seeing that. And like I don't know,
it's definitely interesting. It's definitely interesting. I like the idea of you 20 years from now you all just want to be chilling, with the same thing.
Dude,
like,
because we're all gonna be bossed up.
Yeah, it's gonna be sick.
Look at you, dude. Like, I
I'm
can't
trying,
wait
dude.
to see you 10 years from now.
I'm trying. It's like I feel the same way. That's what I was telling my wife. My wife was like, "Who's coming today?" And I was like, "Oh." I was like, "This kid's gonna be a professional skateboarder." It's like, she was like, "Well, I'm gonna make sure the downstairs is cleaned up and everything like that." But it's like, she doesn't like understand, the world of skating or anything like that. But it's like, she appreciates it. Yeah. And like this podcast is, given an avenue, because she'll listen to him, and even if it's shit she's not really interested in, and it's like, it's like something like this. It's like you don't have to be like someone who is a skater or anything like that to get value from the conversation we're having. Yeah,
for sure.
Because it's just interesting to see how people's minds work and how they develop. And you seem like you've kind of had like that same like introspective, kind of in touch with yourself mindset from a young age. It kind of seems. Yeah. Were you always? Do you feel like you were always someone who was kind of like working, like actively knowing to work actively working to make yourself better? It's like you knew that was like.
I think there was a time frame that I changed for sure. Yeah. I wasn't always so I guess forward thinking or introspective. Like I definitely, due to all my circumstances leading up to like 13 or so, like I definitely was like completely different than I am now. I was super angry, like felt pretty wronged by everything that had been dealt to me at that point. Especially I was a child.
Yeah, understandable.
And so I definitely did have like a chip on my shoulder at that time, and I viewed everything as being unfair in a way. And that's a perspective that will never serve you in life. And I feel like looking back, I can remember it was probably around 13 or 14, probably very close to the time I started skating, that I made a conscious decision that I was like, you know what? Like, what am I fucking doing right now? Yeah. Like, what am I gonna be doing later? And I remember I feel blessed for some of the hardships I've ever had to go through, because I think they carved my mind at an early age and that mindset carried with me and is giving me so many opportunities now, because there was definitely clear points in time that I remember sitting by myself, thinking to myself, or in an insanely frustrated moment, and I was like, you know what, like, this needs to change. And you know what, yeah, life is like this sometimes. Like, there's not going to be a handout for me. Like, there's not going to be somebody I tell my sob story to and everything's fine then, you know, like, you got to do that yourself.
Yeah,
you got to use that to empower you.
It's cool to hear that, like, to hear, you know, that you were able to, like, you know, recognize that. Now, for you to, you know, kind of progress in skating to a point where, you know, you kind of got to, like, to get to where you are now, honestly. I mean, like, yeah, you're sponsored skater, you know, you're winning competitions and shit, you know, traveling all over. It's like, what was that first, you know, like realism that you were like I'm going to try to pay bills with this? Like, is that what you had in the beginning? You were like, you know, I'm going to try to, like, because really money makes the world go round. So you're becoming an adult. You got to figure out how to pay bills, function, you know, do things like that. I assume you were, you know, planning on skating for that.
Like, in a way, yeah, that would have been a dream like a few years ago. Yeah. But at the same hand, like, no, not really. Like, I don't think I ever really expected to get real monetary value, or at least enough to be able to be comfortable from skating. I don't think I ever really expected that. Yeah. Like, the only reason I ever and this goes back to, like, how I said earlier, I kind of reevaluated what I was even doing. All I ever really wanted from skating, I think, was just to go film and street skate, to get to travel, see new places and skate new places, and to have that footage be seen. Yeah. And that's why I always, like, from an early age, to me, like, being sponsored or being pro or anything like that, it more so just meant I'm going to get to go on more trips. Yeah. And a lot more people are going to see my skating. I didn't really care if people thought I was super good. I didn't really think money was ever going to be there from it. But I was like, I want people to see what I'm hyped on, what I'm passionate about. I want people to see my friends and I doing what we love. And that's what I thought I would get out of it for almost the whole time. And then once I started, you know, getting more from skating, that's when I really was like, yeah, dude, like, I'd be kind of ignorant to even try place that value upon skating, to think I'm going to make my millions from that. Like, I almost wouldn't even want that now. Like I said, it would end up tainting the passion.
I don't even necessarily mean make millions, because whenever I say, like, but like this podcast, for instance, like, I don't want to, like, have a fucking mansion. Like, I would love to, like, at one point, a fair point. You know, I just want to be able to pay my monthly bills doing this. Yeah. And, like, you're obviously, and like we were talking about before, it's like the point of, like, being good at something, you know, it's like the fucking Joker says in The Dark Knight, if you're good at something, never do it for free. Yeah. You know, and that doesn't necessarily apply exactly that way to what we're talking about, but it's like, you know, that's really what people consider, in air quotes, living the dream. Yeah. Paying the bills, True. Doing what you love. But it's cool to hear about, like, you know, that really is never, like, you're in the forefront of your mind. It's more just about, like, the love and the passion of skating.
Yeah. And I mean, because of skating for a long time, I simply didn't care about anything like that. And I didn't think about, you know, 15 years later or something. I was just like, I have this window of time, this season of my life to do this fully right now. And I just want to do whatever I have to stay there. But to be fair, though, yeah, like you said, you know, maybe not talking about making millions, but it is extremely hard to make money from skating now. Yeah. Almost in a way, like, even more than 10 years ago when it was less popular. Because now, one of the main things that have changed with skating is the social media and the internet. It's far easier now for a company, a sponsor, to send free product to someone with a lot of followers, and that person who's never had anything like that before, they're fully down to just get free product and then post about it, and that's it. Yeah. they might not even realize that they're never going to go on a trip with them. They're never going to get paid by them, but who's not down for some free stuff? So now you have these companies that are like, well, yeah, fuck paying these skaters and paying them to go on trips. Like, we can just hit up this dude with 50,000 followers, get advertising off him. We just have to send him some free product that we write off on our taxes. Wow. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot different now to make money that pays the bills through skating.
Yeah. You think social media is... I mean, social media is a blessing and a curse across the board.
It definitely is, yeah.
Because, you know, if you're a business, you know, and whenever I say a business, even yourself, like you yourself are a business.
Yeah.
If you don't have a social media, if you don't have Instagram, you know, you don't exist. And it's...
I know, I hate that, because that even more...
makes you want to not do it.
Us to be stuck in it.
Yeah.
That compounds our highlight reel. That compounds us not... Like, I rarely even post trip photos or anything anymore, because I know for a fact now, like, I'll fuck up my algorithm for doing it.
Yeah.
They 100% analyze the fact that if it's not a skate-related post on my page, it'll automatically do worse. No matter what, it'll get shown to less people.
You notice that?
100%.
Are you someone that, like, is in touch with, like, analytics?
Vaguely.
Yeah.
I don't spend too much time on it, because
me either.
I let go of caring about any of that. But I'm aware that it's real.
Yeah, the number, and it's interesting. Like, whether the number is 50 or 5,000, it doesn't affect me any sort of way, but it's interesting to see it, because simply for the fact that the algorithm is there.
Yeah,
it's
it's there.
If you're someone who's like kind of, you know, aware of that, and you're aware of like the fucked up rigged game that we're in.
Yeah.
It's like, you understand that, like, you know, you're playing with a loaded deck, or they're playing with a loaded deck. So you know that it's rigged. That's why I feel like that I don't put too much into that. Like, if a post doesn't get likes or something like that, it's like, you can't really like hold anything to that, because it's such like a weird circumstance now.
Yeah, and I feel like the most value that knowledge could really bring you is rather than just, I didn't get as many views on my story or as many likes, it's just the fact that it will punish your account ultimately because of that. Yeah. If I get, you know, only 500 or 800 views on my story because it's a film photo of some place I traveled to and not skating, it's not like I'm just bummed that, it didn't get views. It's that I know that in said algorithm, my score just went down further to where less people are going to see anything else I do. Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's really just like...
it all compounds on top of each other.
It's overwhelming to think about it, because...
it's so fried.
As someone that, like, you know, doesn't, like, I used to be addicted to my phone, like, to the point where I would have anxiety if it died. You know, I just had to be, you know, attached to it. But, you know, now it's to the point where I could just, like, be gone with it. But I need to do it if I want this podcast to keep going the way that I want it to go. And it's such like a, you know, it's like a snake eating its tail. It's like, I'm not a big fan of it, but I know that it's the reality of like what we're doing. And it's just like, you know, it's a necessary evil, I call it.
Yeah,
you know, it is. It's necessary evil. But, you know, as far as you and the positivity that skating has generated, it's like, you know, you're traveling around. You've done some pretty extensive traveling.
Yeah, at this point.
You know, some good opportunity to go all over. You know, out of the country.
Yep.
You know, where have you went?
Yeah.
Were you in Italy? Is that where you were?
Barcelona? I went to Barcelona, Spain for like about a month. Yeah.
So for you to go over there, you know, what is the motivation behind something like that? To go over there and just experience it, get content, and like just skate new spots?
Yeah, so for Barcelona actually meant a lot to me, because since I was like a child, since I started skating, I'd always been kind of obsessed with it there, because Barcelona is like the mecca of the world for skateboarding. Like, you go there and the spots are insane. Spots exist there that don't exist here or anywhere else. The culture is completely different, and there's also there's thousands of skaters going there from across the world at any given day. And so that was always kind of like a dream location that I always wanted to make it to. And so when I finally made it there, that was actually probably one of my favorite places I've ever been to. And I got to immerse myself there for like a month. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, with travel like that, I just want to do more things like that kind of break down the little world we all live in. Like, probably people call, like, say culture shock is a thing. To me, like, I look at these other countries and places as basically other little worlds, because we all experience like a certain level of conditioning based on our geographical location or our country or whatever. And you go to places like Spain or even Italy or maybe Africa, their conditioning is completely different than yours. And that plays out in a lot of ways, just in the way their thought processes like develop, their belief systems, the way they move, like they think. And so it really is like going and experiencing
a different world.
Yeah. And so I fell in love with it. And it was actually, that was, I think like 3 or 4 months before the whole COVID pandemic initially started.
Yeah.
And so it was like going into the next year, that was my plan before I ever made the van and stuff and went on that trip. My plan was I was going to spend all of that year just going like abroad.
Traveling.
Yeah, I literally had like, I was finding so many hacks, bro. Like I was finding round trip flights to Greece for like $350. I was finding like, I had all of these trips planned, man. And like I budgeted them all out. Like I was ready to go. And then it all
got washed
crashing.
away.
Yeah, it was so funny. It was like New Year's Eve and I'm sitting there partying with people. And I was just like, dude, like, this is the year of the international travel, man. I'm telling you, like, I got the hacks figured out, bro. We're all going. We could do this. Like, we could do it. And yeah, so that was funny. But yeah, I'll get back out there soon, though.
When does like, you know, when does the recognition in skating come into play? As far as like, you know, obviously you're on like flow and stuff like that. It's like, I know that that's not the goal of things, but I know that it feels good to be noticed for the hard work that you're doing. But it's like, when do you start getting noticed from that? It's like, when do you start getting a buzz to a certain extent?
I think like with skating, at least, like that's one of the things I kind of ingrained in myself is I had to realize like I couldn't place any validation on like as a child, like I was saying, that's what I wanted, was to just have my footage be seen and to my friends' footage be seen, and the really hard work that we were putting into it and the passion. But as I matured more and as I did get more recognition, I had to realize like that was a fleeting finish line. Like you never really get the full recognition you deserve in almost anything. And
I agree.
It also wouldn't be valid for me to again place that validation upon so many other people's interpretation of me or what I'm doing. They don't know that I went back to this spot 5 times. They don't know that I couldn't walk that day when I pulled up and still got it finally. Like, and they never will. And I gotta be okay with that, you know? That's fine. I'm in it for the love of the game, not to hear that other people love what I'm doing per se, if that makes sense.
It does make sense.
But you know, it's definitely, you know, super sick when people see the hard work you're doing and they're like, yeah, that was dope.
It gotta be, dude. It gotta be a good feeling.
It's sick. I just think with skating especially now, it's a lot faster fleeting. Like you could have one of the gnarliest parts or something of the year, and after a week or two, it's on to the next thing.
Yeah,
it's
for sure.
About. Like,
it's interesting to think about that too.
Yeah. But you know, for myself, like I'm stoked on myself. And that's what matters to me. I've done a lot more than I ever thought I would 5 years ago. And that means a lot to me. And that's what's relevant.
I like that. That's I like that. I feel like that you you know, you're definitely you're a unique soul, because you know, I feel like that there's ways that people, I feel like that there's a way that people could be, what's the word? How do I want to describe it? I really feel like that you're just completely just genuine with all this, and it just like exudes out of you.
Sick.
But, yeah, I mean, I really do feel like that, because it's just like interesting to like hear the way that you think about things, and the way that like, you know, it's interesting to hear about your past and like how you have, you know, the mindset you do now with like the struggles that you had. Can I ask, like, what does your family think about you skating?
They're all really stoked now.
Yeah.
Like,
do they understand it?
Not fully, but you know, I've done enough now that's what's funny. Like I've told people before, like when I moved out, like I got kicked out of my house at like 17 with nothing. And that's what ended up leading to me moving here a year later.
Okay.
That was another part of the origin, I guess. But, yeah, they definitely like, they hated on it for sure. Or like my grandparents and stuff. Like,
yeah.
They'd always roast me about it, ask me how I'm going to survive off of just skating. And it's funny now because they're not aware enough to know the difference between being like a superstar pro athlete versus someone that's, you know, getting paid for trips like me, or like getting free product and this and that. So to them, like, I'm a superstar. To them, like, I made it. I proved all of them wrong in a sense. And they all love me now, and like they're stoked on it now. But like they definitely don't know the whole scope of it. But that's kind of rewarding. That's like recognition that matters. Like going up to my grandparents or being like, oh, like I just got back from Barcelona for a month. Oh, well, it was all paid for. Like, look at all this footage I got while I was there. Look at how many people were stoked on. These are tricks that have never been done in the most skated city in the world.
Yeah.
And that was me. And they're like, oh my God, like, I guess you were actually right. I guess you actually did all of this and that. And that's pretty rewarding. And also, like, sometimes I feel like, not like in a cocky way, but I feel like the perspective I try to carry to everything in my life, I oftentimes feel like the wiser one in the situation. And that's rarely easy, but it's really rewarding. Like, or like my family kicked me out, left me with nothing. I didn't do anything crazy or wrong either.
Yeah.
It was more so like my mom not being willing to like let me grow up.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like I got like a girlfriend or something and, you know, kicked out. Like, I'm not staying around the house as much. I'm going on trips now and that's it, kicked out, like nothing. And they wouldn't even talk to me for like a year or two while I was struggling, grinding with nothing, built up to where I am now. And like, I'm the one that went back. Forgave all that. Don't bring it up. Like, I chose to be the wiser person and to put those feelings aside for what really matters. Still having a role with people you grew up with and love and care about, you know? And I don't think everybody can do that. Like even some close siblings and stuff, like they've gone through similar hardships, but they haven't reacted the same. And I don't know. Your mind is the most powerful tool, you know?
Yeah, it's also a scary, it also could be a scary place. You know, it is incredible, you know, the capabilities that you have with it. But that's interesting to hear about. Like, it's interesting to hear like your mindset on it and like how, I don't know, just like kind of how it registers. Like, I think it's so interesting to live in the world that we're in now because like there's so much opportunity that wasn't there whenever like our parents were. So it's like, you know, if I'm telling my mom, like, I remember telling my mom about like me wanting to pull like $1,000 out of my savings to start a clothing line. Yeah. And like being like I mean, in hindsight, I think the stuff that I put out was trash, but it's like in that moment, it's like it was everything I ever wanted in my life. Yeah. No one could tell me nothing. Yeah. I was doing it whether you were going to be with me or against me. Yeah. But like they didn't understand it. And like I'm fortunate enough for my parents that they gave me the opportunity to fail in my own way and still kind of have like a, you know, somewhat of like a safety net. Like and I'm blessed in that way, but they let me fail at shit. Like they let me like, you know, I failed out of school at one point, and like I worked at a fucking machine shop for pennies, just like breathing in this fucking metal dust, like just killing myself. And like it really like clicked in my head where I was like, I cannot do this. Went back to school and fucking graduated with like a 3.7.
Yeah.
And it's like,
sometimes you need that.
You need life. You need life experiences to do all this. And it's so interesting. Like one of my favorite like quotes ever is like, the greatest test of courage ever is to bear defeat without losing heart. And it's like, I feel like that I apply that to so many things, because it's like, whether it's really not you could replace defeat with like any sort of negative, but it's like, you know, the old saying, like you get knocked off the horse, you just like get back on. It's like you were saying, it's like, you know, your family kicked you out for you to go back to it. It's like, I love being able to like just be okay with like changing and like progressing and like, you know, just reevaluating things and like redefining how I want to be. And like, I've always been okay with that. I know that there's people that I'm friends with, close friends with. They're not okay with who they are.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. And that's actually sick. That's such a good quote.
I could never in my life be more okay with who I am. Like I couldn't be more proud of who I am as a human being now. It's like I get emotional thinking about it sometimes. Dude, it's like it's powerful. It's powerful. Yeah. And to see people like you, to see like other people that I've talked to, it's like you could tell who is like that. Who is just like, you know, they're down for it for the right reasons. It's like, I'm not doing some bullshit here to just try to get a quick check. It's like, this is a fucking long game. Yeah. For 2 years, no one was listening to this fucking shit. Yeah. It's like nothing. No one was listening to it.
Dude, it's hard to start with nothing too.
And those are the people that could go through things and make it through that. It's like, you got to get through the rain to get to the rainbow. Yeah. It's like 100%. And it makes me so much more happy, like talking to people, but I feel like it's so important for people to hear about the negative and hear about the things that were unfortunate about your life, about all these people's lives, because like, I don't want to be another highlight reel. I don't want this to be a highlight reel. That's why I kind of pry to a certain way, because like, you know, I'm not like trying to like just like air out your shit and like talk about like your dad or your mom, but it's like, I feel it's important because it builds to the character of who you are.
Exactly.
Because like, I would have never known the shit, like, you know, your parents kick you out and you like go back and make peace with them and like, you know, you come back holding like, you know, what you've worked hard on, what they don't understand, speaks so much more about like you and about like your character. And it's like, that's why I kind of,
that is super true. And that's like kind of what we said earlier with the lack of depth and how we're all trained with that. Like, it's kind of important to hear about that, or like anybody I look up to, like super I want to hear about how they failed and still made it.
Yeah, dude.
Because that's what's empowering.
It's fucking insane like, to think about people like, you know, like Steve-O. It's like what he's doing now wouldn't be as much, it wouldn't be as impactful as it is now if people didn't understand what he was like back then.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? It's a hard way. That's like a gross comparison, but like,
no, but that's true. And it's like with the way our society is set up now, like the only thing that like scares me with how, you know, all the virtual and whatnot is that we have whole generations now that they're going to grow up never experiencing anything prior to that.
Oh yeah.
So if we're just sitting here and we're only talking about, I guess, the highlight reels or all of your successes today, then, you know, none of these people are aware that you've gone through maybe at times harder situations than they have.
But even
still made it.
Even go one rung lower than that. It's like, we live in a world where people don't even want to call each other anymore. Yeah. I call my friends sometimes and they'll hit the fuck you button and text me back and say, what's up?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm a phone call guy.
Yeah.
You know, you get more from it. I'm adamant about it, but it's like, we're conditioned to the point where that's it. It's like, you know, people don't even have conversations anymore. When's the last time you had a 2 hour long, I mean, you probably had one last night with someone, just where you're just fucking talking about life. But a lot of people don't talk like this anymore.
I know, dude.
A lot of people don't like, they're not comfortable with like being inside their mind. And like, they might be to a certain extent, but it's like, you know, all these like, you know, deep dark thoughts that people have in their brain, it's like, this is the shit that we were talking about that like people were afraid to put out. You know, like, I guess not really afraid, but it's just like these are the things that people don't think that people care about, but in reality, people are similar and they're thinking the same way. Yeah, you get what I'm saying, kind of.
No, I totally see what you're saying, and I think that's important, and I think it's going to become like very important in the next 5 to 10 years, dude. Because
imagine the people who are having babies right now, what it's going to be like in 15 years.
That's one of the main reasons.
Terrifying.
I'm scared.
You ever see Euphoria?
No, I haven't watched it, but I know of it. Yeah.
I know. I can't even imagine having a kid in high school.
Like stoked on that. Yeah.
Dude, I can't even imagine people in high school with social media and phones and shit like that. I mean,
like it has to be like, I feel overwhelmed. I feel like I'll go on trips now and I literally turn my phone off for days because I can't take all the stimulation on top of what I'm experiencing in the moment.
It's crazy,
like, I can't imagine what it would be like to grow up as a baby right now today and be like a teenager or early 20s, like 20 years from now. Like,
wow, dude, we have no idea what life's going to be like.
It's a completely different world. And
different world.
Dude.
Okay. I mean, I feel like we've been, you know, just somersaulting through another dimension of just
we kind of like half answer a question and get led to another, but
I think it's important though. It is. It's important.
It's been good.
But I do want to reel you back into skating a little bit more.
Yeah, let's get to it. I'm down.
Let's get to it. I'm down after we talk for an hour and a half. But so, you know, reeling back from being an introspective, you know, in touch with yourself person, you know, you're a skateboarder.
Yeah.
You know, you skate.
Yeah.
You know, at this point in life where you are, it's like, what is an everyday thing for you? Like what do you do every day? You know, skating's obviously the main part of your life. Yeah. You know, how do you work that in? Do you treat that as like a job? Not really a job, but it's like, do you dedicate time for it every day? Is there certain things that you're like goals to work towards?
Yeah, totally. Like, kind of all of the above. Like, I'll literally go skate by myself at like 11 or 12 at night sometimes, just because at this point skating is also like, it's like therapeutic, you know? Yeah. And for me, since I love the progression and whatnot, like I'll have a bad day or something. Nobody wants to skate either. I'll go down to One Up. I got like a key to the warehouse, thankfully. And, I'll go skate for like 3 hours till like 2 a.m. by myself. Like, I make sure that I skate almost every day now when I'm able, but just because it's still like such a passion, like it almost doesn't, I'll feel weird like if I go a week without skating, or like last year I was injured for a couple months and like I literally started losing my mind. So every day I'm skating, even if it's at least an hour, I'm skating if I'm able to. I've got plenty of other passions and whatnot too, but skating is still top priority. I'll go spot hunting, I like to call it. Even here, like I was on my way here and I wanted to be at least like 10 minutes early, but I came here even earlier because I was just driving around a side of town I'm never in, looking for potential spots that no one's ever skated before, something unique. Like I'm constantly thinking with, I guess, my skater brain as well, like daily for sure. Yeah, like actively working at it. Yeah, and now I'm at a point too where it's like I want to continue to be skating every single day for at least another 10 or so years. So I also have gotten more strict just with like what I'll eat, what I'll drink, working out, or like constantly finding like different fitness habits like stretching and whatnot that works specifically for skating and whatnot. Yeah. And it's still such a major part of my life. Like I don't really know what I would do without it. Might be easier in some ways. Like I feel like I was just talking to my homie the other night and I was just like, like I've always felt so blessed that I felt like I had a passion so early on, and that even through really hardships during it at times, like I always stuck to it though. And like I could see how that's rewarded me in numerous different ways. But at the same time, like, like it would be easier in some sense to just be down to go like work at one of the factories I worked at before. Yeah. Or like selling windows or something like I did before. Like I've had a lot of like career jobs to other people. Oh yeah, that's the last time I've seen you. Yeah, probably.
I saw you at the fucking home show.
Oh, dude.
That was the last time I seen you.
Yup.
I saw you there randomly.
Killing it there too, bro.
Fuck
like
yeah.
that company went under because
That was literally about 3 days before COVID
I'm pretty
shut
sure
down.
I got COVID at that fucking home show.
Yeah, dude, it was crazy
Go
there.
figure, it was like 60,000 people.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Now that you say that, you were there.
Dude, I was hustling, bro.
I mean, you definitely could tell that that anything you do, you're going to like put the time into it. You don't seem like someone that is going to cut corners on things, whether it be, you doing the van, you just seem like someone who's very like, goal oriented and just aware of themselves and what they want in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's like, at least when it comes to jobs and stuff too, like, you'll have friends all the time and they go from like shit job to shit job or they just never put in the time to get good at something.
Yeah.
And like for me, a few years ago when I first moved to Pittsburgh, I was still grinding and had nothing, especially money.
Yeah.
And so I would always get these like jobs that were like careers to other people. I'd be working with people who were there for like 15 plus years and whatnot. And like I always said that I would come in and I'd learn everything possible I could about what was going on, what the company was, what the goal of the company was, what is my position here. Because for me with skating, like I would always tell people when I interviewed and whatnot, I'd be like, yo, like my goal is to be your best employee and your favorite employee so that I can do whatever I want. Because I'm going to leave on trips. And it's going to be different than someone else. Like I'm going to call off for like a week at a time if I have to, because skating is my passion. But I'm going to be so good and your favorite that you would rather have me here 2 days a week than not here at all. And it worked every time, bro.
I love that.
Every time. I finessed into so many jobs that like you needed school for, you had to be a certain age for, and just off communicating with the people, I would get in and it would always work the way I wanted it to. But I wasn't scared. I'm not scared of working hard.
Yeah.
I'm not scared of putting that effort in.
Yeah.
It's just I know what I want out of everything I do in life.
You're intentional.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not just fucking getting like a traveling marketing job or something just because I think it's going to be fun to drive around 16 hours a day or something. I know what I want from it. And I could be straight up with you. And most of these people, they appreciate that, especially from some fucking 20-year-old kid who apparently just skates.
Yeah.
And apparently is doing somewhat well with it, so they respect that.
Wow.
Yeah. And I've straight quit jobs before because I was like, yeah, like I'm going to need like 3 months, bro. I'm sorry. And
besides skating, what was your favorite job you've ever had?
Actually, the traveling sales and marketing one. That was such a good finesse.
You'd be chilling and you'd just be like, oh, I'm driving somewhere, see a spot and pop out and skate it?
100%.
Yeah, that's immediately what I thought whenever you said that.
Like no filmer either. Like, dude, I had routes all the way to like Niagara Falls. I had routes all the way 15 hours west of here, south of here.
Oh, you were traveling pretty far.
Yeah, like I had company card. I would get in the car. I got so good at it, bro, that they ended up firing their regional managers and they allowed, almost like the unschooling thing, they allowed me to do whatever I wanted in whatever time frame I wanted, just as long as X amount of work was done. So like what I would do is I would travel to these stores and I would set up displays. I would check on existing displays. I would set up meetings with people in all these different cities and states around here and get them to carry our products and then set up displays, restock them, whatever, move to the next one. And so like I got to the point where, they're like, all right, well, we need 30 stores a month done. And I was like, no problem. And I'd go work. I'd get in the car, get a hotel, like live on the road for like 5 days, drive in. Like I'd get to like stores at like 2 a.m. sometimes, bro, like falling asleep. And I'd get in, do my thing, leave, and then have 5 days to skate. No questions asked whenever I got back, or I could stay longer or whatever. It was that I proved that value.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, dude,
that.
no matter what, I got you, bro.
Yeah.
But let me fucking do it in my own way. So I'm still down to do it. You know?
Wow.
That was sick while it lasted. very sick.
That's crazy. That is sick.
And dude, they loved me, bro. They loved me.
I feel like, to be fair, you're a likable guy. You are a likable guy. Even whenever you didn't say much, whenever I met you behind One Up, it's like, you don't give me a bad vibe.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it.
Yeah. I believe me. I take very much pride in the judgment of my judgment
That's
of
how
character.
I feel too, from sales experience and stuff. You
Bro,
learn to have to read people.
1 minute.
Yeah.
1 minute. I swear to God, 1 minute I'll know if you're a piece of shit. You know, that's true.
At least I made it past that impression.
Yeah, I mean, like, who am I to say anything? But it's just like,
No,
that's
you
just
know
in
what I
my
mean,
mind.
though.
It's
Yeah.
like, I think it's important because, I don't know, dude, time is the most valuable thing in the world. And I just don't want to give it to other people that are just willy-nilly with it.
That's like one of my main principles is, time is the most valuable thing. I literally was, earlier when I was thinking about coming here, I was like, oh, like I said, I was almost thinking about what it would be like, and then I stopped. And that was as far as I made it, is I was just like, dude, like, at some point, like, I'm going to be like, yo, like, time is the most valuable thing, bro.
Yeah.
And that's what all of this is based around.
Yeah.
Or like the window of time, like 15 or so years from now, like I'm probably going to be like base jumping out of a helicopter or something wild.
Would you
know what
skydive?
I mean? Like I've skydived before.
How was it?
It was sick.
Would you do it again?
Yeah. I have a fear of heights, but I did it. It was actually right when I moved here.
Everyone got a fear of heights that's going to skydive.
What?
Everyone got fear of heights that's going to skydive. Everyone's like, I'm scared of heights. Yeah, you just
dude, but I'm like actually scared, like kind of scared of heights though.
Yeah.
I've gotten better now.
That's wild.
At that time, I was terrified, but it was actually when I first moved here, and Brandon at One Up, it was his bachelor party. So I'd known this dude for like 2 weeks. He's trying to convince me to move out here. And he's like, yo, like 15 of us are going skydiving. Like, I'll pay for your thing, bro. It's for my party or whatever. And I was like, yo, like, honestly, when am I ever going to get that opportunity again? It's like $200 or $300. I was like,
I love Brandon.
I was like, I'll fucking go. Fuck it.
I really love him.
Dude, yeah, he's sick. He's a good dude.
Yeah, he's a raw dude, but I love him. You know, he's a good dude to have in your corner for sure.
Yeah.
Shout out to One Up. You already know that.
Shout out One Up, bro.
So, wow, the traveling salesman. That's crazy. Okay, I want to start. I want to cross off some of these questions because we're already about to be on 2 hours, and I still got more shit to talk to you about. I know it does. Favorite street spot in Pittsburgh. If you have some ones that are in the tuck, you don't have to.
Yeah, no. I don't know. I really like bank spots, so maybe like MLK, but that's not really my favorite. I don't know. The new Hazelwood Plaza. There's like a new marble plaza thing that they built over in Hazelwood.
Oh, really?
Dude, yeah, it's insane.
Wow.
It's almost like impossible to skate now because you get kicked out within 5 minutes. But I got to skate there when it was first built for like a full day or two.
You get some footy?
On the phone.
That's
no
what's
filmer
up.
though.
There you go.
Yeah, I did
the
my
phone
thing,
is
though.
weird now. It's because people don't even need cameras, dude.
I know it's kind of fried. And everybody who's like a hardcore skater, you like kind of have to be against the iPhone clips too. So it's like a weird conundrum because the sponsors, they only want the iPhone clips too at this point.
That's because it's just quick, dude. AirDrop me this clip.
Yeah.
People don't. That's because the untrained eye. I'm not going to know if it's filmed on a VX1000 or an iPhone 13, and it's going to look better on the 13.
Exactly.
That's what people that aren't skateboarders that don't understand the patina of the filter of one of those.
Most people, the iPhone camera looks better than the VX camera.
It's fire,
Someone
dude.
who doesn't know.
You can't beat it, but it makes me crazy because I think about like, you know, friends that I have that are photographers.
Yeah.
And like, you know, just the wrench that throws into their world, but that's neither here nor there. But okay, so
yeah, maybe that spot for now. I feel like I'm totally forgetting what my favorite spot is, but
that's all right. We'll come back to it.
I love them all.
What about your favorite spot of all time? Like literally the best, your favorite place of all time?
Barcelona for sure.
Okay, I figured.
Feel like I basically have to say that.
That's fine.
I would say the W Hotel in Barcelona, though.
If you want to get specific, okay.
Yeah, that spot is amazing.
Someone asked what motivates you to skate, but I feel like we spent an hour and a half talking about it.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty loaded question, but
I can't even imagine if I just asked that, you know, just off the rip. Like, yo, what motivates you? Because
I probably would have said just the progression.
Yeah.
Just the progression.
The progression of
That's
it.
fun. That's what's fun to me.
If you could
about
put that in a sentence, I think that's a good way to answer it. The ever-growing progression of it.
I'm a lifelong learner in every area.
Someone said, what's Nora like?
Nora is sick. Yeah, she's cool. Do you know who that is?
No, I didn't know who that was, but I know who they are now.
Yeah, she's probably like the most bossed up girl skater, and she also made her climb to fame basically when it was unprecedented. So she's probably like a staple in the female skating community, as well as skating in general. She's sick.
She's been skating for a long time?
Basically her whole life. She surfs too, but she like recently, maybe in the last 5 to 10 years, blew up, and now like, dude, she's like a full celebrity.
What's the last name?
I forget how you pronounce it. It's Nora Vascelios or something.
Okay.
It starts with a V. But yeah, she's fucking dope. She's super nice. I wasn't sure if she would cool guy me or not because she's super blown up, but I spent time on a trip with her.
Yeah,
she
that's
skates for Welcome.
I think that's why they were asking that.
Yeah, she's super dope. She's the best.
I see you were with some people. You were with Andy. I saw you were with him for a second.
You see, I was with Novak.
Oh yeah, I did.
Dude, Novak is like the good homie now, which is funny.
Honestly, dude, it's weird because like for being just a side character in that world of Viva La Bam and everything, and him being like the grimy dude in that era.
It's bizarre.
It's so wild and fulfilling to see.
You see what he's on now.
Fuck
right?
yeah, he's on some fucking I'm out here living my life shit.
Yeah.
I love that.
I can't believe that I met and interacted with him, and like we were talking, it was him, Andy Roy, and I'm somehow in LA, like just randomly staying at their Airbnb, and we just became like super good friends. And he's like Novak's like FaceTiming his friends just so they could like talk to me and ask me about the trip I'm on in the van and stuff. And
that's
like,
how you came across. How did that even link up?
So basically, there's a homie Lonnie who used to live in Pittsburgh briefly, and he's like filming a video magazine kind of thing, like an old school thing. And somehow through living in Philly or something, I think he's linked up with Novak, and then also knows Andy Roy, and so they were out in California filming for that, and then I'm randomly showing up, and he's like, yo, come hang out, skate with us, and some of my homies were there too, and so I pull up to the house. I'm like, oh shit, I'd met Andy Roy before, but never Novak, and I was like, oh, no way, dude, and I didn't know anything about like, what his life was like now.
Yeah.
And so then we're just casually talking, and I'm thinking like, I'm trying to be nice because I'm like, yo, I'm in this dude's place, and I didn't even know that, like I'm sleeping in the van still outside. I was like, don't need to take from me, bro. Like I'm just here right now to hang.
Yeah.
And we just became really good friends and kind of connected. Like I feel like he kind of just resonated with similar just perspectives, and like I said, like I'm just so inspired by other people and their growth, and like so I'm just sitting there asking him all these questions, and then he's also just super interested in me, and he's like, man, like if I would have had that mind like then or this and that, and so it just created like a really good friendship, and
that's dope.
Yeah, we still talk all the time.
That's dope.
Yeah,
it's like
he's a legend.
I love I have family that like struggled with addiction, and like, they have since like made their way out, and thankfully, they're living good, and it's wild because I had such like a weird mindset of it back then. I was like very, very like callous to it, and like, but it's like,
me too.
It's just so crazy to see, like people like Steve-O and him. It's like fucking insane, and it makes, like you said, it's motivating, dude. Very motivating.
Yeah, I used to like, I never drank or even smoked or anything until I think I was like 18 or something, because that's another thing my family was really strict on, because my dad was also an addict, which also obviously made his condition worse.
Yeah.
And so I was always taught that like it was basically like biological, like genetics or something. They're like, oh, like, you have one beer.
Yeah,
you're an alcoholic now.
Yeah.
And you're fucked. You're an addict. And you smoke weed once or something, like it's over.
Yeah,
and so
it's wild to think about
my
that.
perspective, it was crazy, because then coming out here, then everyone I know now, and it's just really interesting to see the growth of people's minds.
Interesting is what a lot of like my life boils down to, is like, I'm just interested in everything.
Yeah, that's basically what all of life essentially is.
Got to. I mean, if you're living good, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Some people just have blinders on, and they're
dude.
been working at the same job for 45 years.
Yeah, you got to be a lifelong learner.
I like
every
that.
Avenue.
Lifelong learner.
That's principle number 2.
What is your favorite memory involving skateboarding?
I have a hard time picking favorites in anything, so that would definitely be impossible with skating. But there's been some really good ones. First paid for a trip. The first box I got from Adidas, team manager.
How does that shit happen? Do they just see you on social media and hit you
No,
up?
I worked really hard for that one, actually.
I'm sorry I didn't mean to
No, it's all good.
undersell that.
But yeah, like I had gotten, at that time I had no shoe sponsor ever. And I had lived in Pittsburgh a couple years. I was working the traveling sales job. And yeah, I knew from the start I wanted Adidas just because that's the shoe I like to skate at that time. And I got offers from other companies, and I turned them down when I had nothing. I still turned down the free product because I was like, no, I'm going to patiently wait and keep grinding till I get what I want.
Yeah.
And so I'd even gotten the team manager's info. I hit them up directly. They had seen some of my skating, but the way that works from the beginning is like, you know, you send the company footage and they're like, all right, well, we like you. We like your skating.
Keep working.
Your image. Here's product, and you're going to represent our brand. We think you're in line with what we want our brand to be represented with. And so
Flow.
we're going to give you. Yeah, but that's like more like AM status technically. Like Flow could just be a sales rep giving you free stuff because they have a budget too or something. You know what I mean? There's like a bunch of different
levels
tiers
to
and
it.
levels. Yeah.
Levels to this shit.
Yeah, and so when I had finally the team manager had reached out to me repeatedly too at that point, and I mean that's someone that has tens of thousands of people sending them footage and hitting them up every week. And so even after they reached out to me, it still didn't end up happening for like another 6 months or something. So when it finally did come through, I was like in Maryland or something, working, driving. And I finally got the email, and I saw that the box was on the way and that I'd finally did it. And I was like, let's fucking, like I wrote like a whole little like note about it and the date. I still have the packing slip in that shoebox right now.
Wow.
My first packing slip of the first Adidas box.
Wow.
It meant a lot to me.
That's fucking dope. I still got my first Turner's check.
Oh yeah.
You already know that.
That's boss.
It,
you know what I'm talking about.
I know, dude. I used to like I grew up on, drinking Turner's and shit. It's like an iconic thing. And like,
sure.
It's like, I guess I didn't have to work. I guess, in hindsight, me doing this podcast for as long as I did is working hard at it. But it just is so cool to be able to have opportunities with people you want to have opportunities with.
Yeah. And, and at least for me, like it kind of validated the fact that, I basically chose to make my life a little harder by not accepting other offers. They're fine shoe companies.
Yeah.
But it wasn't what my dream was.
Yeah.
It wasn't what I wanted from it. And, being broke at the time and also not having any sponsors at the time, like
anything
that takes
good.
a lot of faith and courage to be like, you know what? I'm going to turn down the opportunities even when I don't have anything. Because I'm betting on myself that I'm going to make it to where I want to go. And then to see that pay off, that's why that meant a lot to me. And that's a great memory.
Yeah, that's powerful shit.
Yeah.
It is. That's definitely awesome.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah.
Super stoked.
Hell yeah.
They're the best.
I love that. Now, obviously, Adidas they're the shoe right now, but I need to know, what was like your first skate shoe that you bought yourself that you loved?
I think a good answer to that would be it wasn't a skate company. It was Faded Glory Walmart shoes.
Faded Glory Walmarts?
Yeah, and I didn't love the quality by any means, but me and my best friend Isaiah Jones, like I mentioned earlier, we got to a point where for a while with skating, the first few years, all I skated was hand-me-down products from people, even shoes. Yeah. I would skate mismatched shoes that had already been skated because my parents couldn't afford any of it, and neither could I, and I wasn't, sponsored yet. So once we had a little bit of money, we would literally go buy these $9 pair of shoes, canvas shoes. They tear in like 3 or 4 days. So we're practically skating in socks.
Yeah.
But we must have bought at least 50 pairs of those each because it was all we could do.
Yeah.
And it's what worked. So
fuck yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the one. That's some OG shit.
That's some OG shit.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Shout out Isaiah Jones.
Favorite park in the area?
Dude, probably have to say the Warehouse, dude. Like, yeah.
Especially
it's
now.
not even a real like park per se, but Pittsburgh doesn't really have much to offer in the way of skate parks, and they have enough skate parks that aren't exactly good, but to anybody who's not in skating, they just see a number of skate parks and they're like, okay, we're good. We've got 5 skate parks. Doesn't matter if they all suck and don't allow you to progress to a certain level. The city just sees it's there and that's it. So
yeah, it's like that that ramp at fucking South Park.
Dude,
like,
yeah. Dude, I'm trying to get in on that.
I remember whenever I was like there as a younger kid and like we were watching like the old heads that were skating at the time drop in on that thing. Yeah. And I remember watching someone drop in and like, I don't know if his foot came off the front and went under the tire, but he literally just fell. And I was like, this is not all right. People should not be doing this. But it's just like you said, it's interesting to hear the opinion on the parks that Pittsburgh does have.
Yeah.
As you saying, like they're not designed to allow people to progress.
Exactly. That's a good way. I actually love South Park. That might be my second favorite actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I actually recently went to a couple of like city council meetings to try to convince them not to even build a skate park, but they're building a pump track in Southside, like for mountain bikes, and they're bulldozing a whole area. And so I went to these right off of 18th Street, further up the hill from Southside.
Oh.
It's a big, you know where a 350 Bakery is?
Yeah, I know exactly where that is.
It's literally directly beside there. That whole plot of land right there, like that big green open space with a couple old abandoned baseball fields. They're demoing a large portion of that and doing nothing but building a pump track for bikes. And so I went to the city council meetings more than once to try to convince them not even to build us a skate park. I don't expect them to.
Just allow you to
to give us a space there, an extra portion of land. If you're bulldozing this area, bulldoze 50 feet further. Since you've already got it there, you're already paying for it.
Yeah.
Just bulldoze 50 feet earlier and then grant us the right to raise our own money and pay for it ourselves. Like I'll pitch in, I'll pay to get. All we could need is like a couple rails and some ledges even. And that'd be a step up from what's there right now.
But let it be designed and by the people using it. And
that's what I'm saying. I'm like...
Give the permission to the people that are actually going to use it to make it how they want.
Like, don't just ask people for handouts. Ask people for the opportunity to do the work yourself.
Wow.
And it didn't really work.
Yeah, but that's fucking awesome you did it.
You know, yeah.
Dude.
We'll get it done.
Fucking baseball field down here. I take my dogs there all the time.
Yeah.
There's probably a team of 10-year-olds on it 5 times throughout the year. It does not get used. I take my dogs down there to run. All right. Nothing they love more. People are pieces of shit and leave their dogs shit in the field. Okay. Wow. We never had any problems taking the dogs down there. All of a sudden a sign goes up. Dogs not allowed in the park. So this literally happened a week and a half ago. Today,
you've seen it.
Today, I'm talking to my guy at work because I know that he is like someone who will stick it to the man. Yeah. And I'm like, yo, you ever go to any city council meetings out here? He was like, oh yeah, a lot of them. And like, he got the time to do it. He was like, dude, I'll do shit on morals, strict morals. I'll spend money and I'll go the extra. He said he had a $60 late fee on a storage container. He like went to all these like levels to just for the principle to have this guy not get it because of some fucked up reason. But long story short, I'm going to start going next Tuesday, not this Tuesday, next Tuesday. Yeah. But I'm going to try to get that fucking sign taken down.
You probably can.
I know. I'm working at it.
That's one thing. At least I learned some things from going to it. Like I learned what those really actually look like and, the kind of people that are going there and have this say, like it more than anything is just anybody who's willing to
anyone who's willing.
Yeah. And most of the time, the only people with that knowledge and that are willing are some fucking snooty ass people
Karens.
who want a fucking pump bike track for themselves to mountain bike on once a week.
Crazy.
Like, I went there and like they were all cool and they were like nice to me, but I was also like, so you guys are the ones making the decision right now. This is nobody in the inner city
yeah.
who's going to be using these facilities. These are rich Southside Slopes motherfuckers. Like, it was crazy, dude.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
It is. It's weird.
Yeah.
Okay. This is going to be an interesting question. So, did you ever play Tony Hawk?
Yeah.
Who would
but
you
not really.
Who would you pick as a skater back then? It's like, what type of, like, who was like someone that you liked as a skater back then?
Dude, honestly, I probably have a really bad answer to this because I'm pretty sure at Tony Hawk, they had like the BMX one. Like, it was an option. You could play BMX in it too or something. And I think in that time frame, that was before I ever even skated. And I totally ran the BMX portion of the video game out more than the skate. I was never into skateboard video games, especially once I started skating.
Yeah,
I didn't like it.
It's probably like guitarists not playing fucking Guitar Hero.
Yeah, it's like, why am I like literally from the time I started skating, even before I became so inspired, I still had that mindset that from day one I was like, oh, I'm like already 14 and learning this. Like, I'm putting every amount of time I can into doing this and being able.
Yeah, you weren't playing no fucking video games. You were out there doing it.
No, I would literally roast my friends and be like, why would I learn how to play this fucking video game when I'm still learning how to ollie up a curb? Like, are you stupid? Like, yeah, so I don't know. Sorry about that one.
That's all right. These are just questions people submitted.
Sorry to the homie that submitted.
They said, who'd you play as on Tony Hawk? What about your favorite skateboarder? Like your favorite skater, not as a video game, but like
just like in general.
Yeah. Do you have one? I know it's probably a hard choice.
My friends, first and foremost, Isaiah Jones, probably.
Hell yeah.
All my close friends, those are people that inspire me more than a lot of others. But mainstream pros and whatnot, like, I really like the skating I'm really interested in now is not just big handrails or gaps. It's skateboarding that is about control. There's certain tricks, and that's kind of what I try to do now is I'm super fascinated by tricks that if you're a skater, you can tell you need a certain level of control to be able to pull that off. It's not about having the balls to jump down a 20 stair rail. It's not about, it's about how many hours you've put into the game in order for your body to be possible to do this maneuver. It's essentially manipulating the skateboard in a deeper way. And that's what I love about skating is that you can have a bunch of followers, you could be super blown up, whatever, but you can't cheat skating. Like, to first learn how to ollie, your body, your muscles in your body have to, try and fail X hundred amount of times before you've even developed the muscles in order to do an ollie.
How long did it take you to do one?
For me, maybe like 300 and something attempts, I would guess. Like, I first learned how to ollie on just the wooden board without trucks and wheels on a carpet.
Oh, wow.
And then I, set it up and did that. But I remember the first time I learned how to kick flip or switch flip. And I remember that's like how I would do it. And that's the main thing. Like, I've given skate lessons before, and it's not really like other things like playing guitar or something like that you could just teach. It's about having for whatever reason, you're dedicated enough to fail X amount of times until it's possible for you to succeed. And so I'm really into that kind of skating, controlled, not necessarily just technical, but just you need a level of control that clearly tells the story. You've dedicated numerous hours to this more so than someone else. Like,
yeah,
because I do it all, and I've skated really big rails too, and that's like sick. But in a way, that's easier to me than some of like the ledge or
that makes
flat
sense.
bar tricks that I've done.
Yeah,
because,
I like what you said though about it's not about just having the balls to go down like a 20 set or whatever.
Yeah.
I love the idea that you said, like, the control of it.
Yeah,
to be able to, like, not really just use the balls as like the crutch of it, you know, like,
Yeah.
oh, people aren't going down the 20 stair because they're afraid to do it, you know, but I get what you're saying. Like, as far as like control, that's cool to like hear how you like process that in your mind.
Yeah. And it's kind of like a perspective that, you know, maybe only if you understand what you're looking at, you can see that, you know, like most people, they're like, yeah, I mean, that's crazy. You just went down this crazy rail. It's another thing to like go down this crazy rail, but you're doing a trick that requires a certain level of weight distribution and control, like contortion of its manipulation of the board. And I really like that. And it's a lot more creative skating that way too. So I'm fascinated by skaters that do that.
Oh yeah. That's a good answer. What about, so if do you have a favorite trick you've ever done? That you feel the most proud of?
Switchback tails, I'm pretty proud of.
You should
there's
be.
There's a lot of them, honestly. Like, I've kind of gone to a point now where I used to, you know, just try to do tricks I thought were hard until I got, you know, more mature and better. And like now I'll go try to learn tricks that I accepted years ago I would never be able to do.
Like what?
Switchback tails.
Okay.
I was literally like, I could like switchback tail 360 or big flip, like on flat bars or ledges now. And like, I was terrified to even attempt one, just a regular switchback tail.
Yeah.
I was terrified of it. And I was like, you know what? That's fine. I'll never do that trick. I've got a lot of other switch tricks. It's okay. I don't need it. And then like a year or so later, I'm like, well, you know, this is the trick that seems like the hardest to me. So I'm going to go knock that out. I'm going to go try it 200 times until my body's used to that discomfort well enough that now it's one of the most comfortable tricks to me. So there's a lot of tricks like that. Or, you know, obviously, you know, street skating, like front tail 270 flip in New York. That's like one of my favorites for sure.
Yeah.
That was an insane experience, to say the least. And I don't know, there's just tricks like that. There's a few tricks I've done that people probably haven't even seen because they weren't in parts that I'm pretty sure like I've never seen done by anyone else to this day. There's some tricks like that I'm still stoked on, but
my goodness,
nobody will probably ever know. Like,
that's awesome.
It's sick for me.
It is sick.
Yeah, it's kind of like back to that whole like recognition thing. It's like I'm kind of okay with that. Like,
Yeah,
it's
I love
fine.
that.
I know what I do.
I think that's why I love graffiti so much, you know, the art of it as far as everything, because I love the fact that like people were up there just like, you know, putting out this like fire ass shit that like no one knows who does it.
Yeah, they're doing their thing.
And it's like, I just like the aspect of people like not wanting anything from it. And like, that's really where like, you know, for you to like put artwork out, put anything out and not get any, like people, the graffiti artists are throwing shit on the walls that are not ever going to be, you know, people think they're a nuisance, but it's so wild to me that they put their passion and their time and like, you know, same thing with skating. It's like to do that, to not want anything in return to a certain extent is wild to me.
Especially in today's society where almost everything we do is basically contingent on what we expect to get out of it. And I think that's what makes it so magical in areas like that. Graffiti, artists, music people, like whatever it is you're doing that you're passionate about. If I can see that someone's so dedicated to doing something and they're good at it, but I know like they're never going to get personal recognition for that or something, that makes me respect you more because I understand what that passion feels like. I understand that I don't tag at all. I'm not necessarily into tagging or anything, but I respect a lot of the real taggers and whatnot because it's like, I know how much time they dedicate to that. That shit's not easy.
Dude, it's a life. It really is a life.
When you're really doing it. And I understand that that's the kind of passion that you can't expect to get recognition or anything in general out of it. And that's pure passion. That's pure drive and motivation to pursue something. And I respect that in all avenues of life.
1,000,000%.
Yeah.
What's the worst injury you've ever had?
I don't know. Tough question, I guess. I've had a few. I cracked my head open pretty hard on one of those big handrails.
Was that just a couple? I feel like I remember
You've probably
that.
seen some. Unfortunately, I've gotten cracked twice in the head, but the big one was in Oakland and on that big rail. But I wouldn't even say that was the worst one. That was the scariest one. I think I got like 15 staples or something in my head.
Jesus. When was that?
Probably about 2.5 years ago by now or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so stupid, dude. Like, I tore the light. I got clipped by a light box on a wall. It was a handrail that was attached to a wall, and the handrail was like, I think 16 or 20 stairs long, and I was grinding the rail just fine, and I haven't ever done one that big, and there was a light box also attached to the wall, and I got so confident that I was like, okay, I'm ready to land this, so I stood up fully, and my balance was good. I would have rolled away that try. But since I had stood up and had that full balance, it meant my height was now
Where the light box was.
where the light box was finally. And it clipped me with full speed all the way at the bottom of the rail, split my head open. We're like literally running to the hospital, just blood pouring, bro, just pouring. And I had to go back to that rail 2 or 3 other days separately, continuously trying it until I landed it. And I tore that light out of the wall twice. I tore it out once, went back, and they had replaced it, tore it out again, went back, got the clip. I did it twice in a row the day I finally did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was stoked.
That's, I don't know, dude. That's awesome. That's, you get knocked off the horse, you get back on.
Yeah, I felt pretty sick that day.
Yeah, that's a super cool story.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like little things like that, dude. Nobody will ever know. That clip that I got after all of that, it was maybe 6 seconds long.
Yeah.
It's seen one day and not really remembered by anyone else, probably. Much
You
longer.
remember it, though.
Yeah, exactly. But that, it just plays to what I was saying earlier,
Yeah.
It's a bunch of stories that go into how much people pour a lot into their skating and their passions,
Oh, yeah. It is. It's wild to think about. Mind-blowing, honestly.
Yeah.
What is, what are your plans? You said you wanted to stay here for the next year, skate with all the people around here, be present in this moment in time. What are your goals besides, becoming more educated in finances, progressing your life? First of all, what do you do besides skating? Like, what do you find joy in? Like, or do you do artwork? Do you, I know you travel and I know you enjoy that, but like, what do you do when you're not skating?
Probably honestly, I do a lot of traveling now that's unrelated to skating. So
Yeah.
probably that, between spending time with my girl, between spending time with friends who don't get to skate as much anymore. I don't know. I feel like my time's always pretty bought up. Like there's always something to be done. Like if I have some free time tomorrow because everyone's out of town on skate trips right now and I'm not, I'm going to spend all of tomorrow researching things I'm interested in for the next 1 to 2 years to learn, and spend the rest of the time, maybe searching for spots, or I don't know. I'm always plotting on something. It just depends on the day.
I love that plotting because I feel the same way.
That's
I feel
what
like
it
it's a
is,
sickness sometimes.
It kind of is, dude. Cause in a way,
do you ever deal with anxiety?
yeah, I do now sometimes. I never used to.
You feel like you have it somewhat now?
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely the influence of our society now.
Yeah.
I feel like I can see that 100%. And it's not that bad for me, really, because I'm pretty aware and know how to control things. But that's why, I look at, future generations. I'm like, damn, dude, that's probably going to be gnarly for them. I can't imagine.
I mean, think about the people now that don't have the mindset that, people like you do have.
Yeah.
Like there's some people that just can't deal with it. But it's
part
pretty,
of it is letting go, because I get anxiety sometimes because my mind basically never stops. I'm always thinking of 5 years from now, 2 years from now. What do you do 1 year from now or today so that 3 years from now I'm doing this or that. But then that's going to change over the next 2 years as well.
Yeah, it's like we have no
so I'll
idea.
get lost on a rabbit trail, but at the same time, like it's necessary. It's like a fine balance, and a way of dealing with that for me is now rather than previously in my life, I'm able to let go of all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yeah, I'm doing all this stuff today for later in life, but I don't care. I understand it's probably going to change.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to, so far in life, all the goals I set for myself, I've far surpassed now and replaced those goals. And
Fuck yeah.
I believe with that mindset, it will always do that. So a goal should be something that gets you moving in a direction, but
it's a checkpoint more.
Yeah, having a finish line is something I never want to have.
Exactly.
You'll
That's
never
why it's a
meet that
checkpoint.
finish line.
That's
Exactly.
that's how I've been like starting to think of things.
Yeah, so you get it. You
Because
know what I mean?
if you got a goal, you get to the point and it's done.
Yeah, then what?
But it's just like, I don't know, it's keep progressing, but I don't know, it's cool to hear about that. What else? I had one thing that I wanted to ask you before we got into the goals. Oh, as far as like your mental,
Yeah.
do you do any sort of like, obviously you said skating is like a form of meditation and everything like that, but
For
do you
sure.
meditate or anything like that and like try to like, do any sort of, mental?
Yeah, a little bit, but honestly, I don't. Meditation specifically is something I kind of think more about than I actually get around to doing.
Yeah.
Especially in today's world, it's really hard to be present
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot, or at least have like a half hour to sit down and do that every day.
That's why I ask you, because it's hard for me to try to
Yeah.
get to that point, but I feel a lot of the time that I'm doing it,
Yeah, I think you're doing it in different ways.
exactly.
Yeah.
You just devoting time to thought.
Yeah, that's a
And
big thing for me,
organize-
I've realized now. Like, it's part of what will drive me insane at times, but it's part of what I desperately need.
Yeah.
Because there will be days where it's like, yo, I need to sit here and just think for like 2 or 3 hours. I need to.
Yeah.
And I'll do that. I'll turn my phone off. I'll like piss someone else off and ignore them or something. Like, if I need to, I will. But I think that's why I travel so much now too, is for me, that's part of that meditation, or something like go be gone for like a few days, turn my phone off. And I'm experiencing like traveling is probably one of the most powerful tools to make you present, because you're traveling in a way, at least the way I do it, sometimes with no plan even as well. You're fully immersed in the moment, and you're being so stimulated by these different cultures, these new
Places that
experiences.
you have no
and
idea where you are.
Yeah, dude, like it's so powerful and profound that you basically have no choice but to be forced to be in that moment. You're
Yeah,
gonna turn
feel
your phone
vulnerable
off
and
because
shit.
you can't even. You're so stimulated already, you can't take it.
100%.
Yeah, and so I think I've kind of adjusted to where that's where I get my like meditation, and that's where I reevaluate my thought processes, my
Get
belief
recharged.
concept. Exactly. It's by doing things like that. I've dabbled enough that I kind of know it works for me now. I know I
Yeah.
need to go sometimes. I have to.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point. It's like me and my wife just got back from a trip, and it was the same. There's a point in time where I feel like, almost like the flow of life is like gummed up, and it's like a trip is just like, spraying these hoses out with an air compressor and just like starting over
Yeah.
to a certain extent.
I'll get anxiety sometimes before trips now too.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to take that initial leap into it and like, go somewhere new, or be like, oh, I know I'm going to be gone for 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
Or I know I'm going to have to come back 4 weeks from now to something completely different.
Yeah.
But like at the same way, like that kind of gets me juiced on it. I'll force myself to be uncomfortable sometimes now, because I know it's going to end up that I needed that.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Comfort is the worst thing that you could have to a certain extent.
it's like
because
being comfortable with
it's a
not
warm bed
being
in the morning.
comfortable.
It's a warm bed in the morning. It's like it's hard to
Yeah.
get out of, but it's
Yeah.
like you got to get out of it to get some shit done.
Yeah, sometimes if you're trying to change your rhythm in life, you gotta change it. You
Gotta change
you
it.
gotta turn it off.
Fuck it.
You know what I mean? Yeah, you gotta switch it up.
What's have you been to any weird like random places state wise that has like incredibly good skating that you'd be surprised of? Like some weird shit in like, back ass Iowa or something.
It's a good point. Like, cause all these old cities have infrastructure that's way more catering to skateboarding. A lot of these new cities or even places like LA and whatnot, they intentionally build things now knowing about skating and to make it not skatable. So yeah, I spend a lot of time looking for spots in cities and small towns that people would never think of or go to. So when I'm traveling, like driving across the country and whatnot, like I'm always doing that. Yeah, I'll see gems, bro. And like it sucks because sometimes I'll be there and I'm like, yeah, there's no way I'm getting a filmer out here ever. Yeah, I'm not getting a filmer to follow me to Kansas for like 5 spots. But I don't know, it still makes me kind of stoked to just be like, yeah, this is here. Or
yeah,
I'll
it's like
skated by myself.
Yeah, it's like your own.
Yeah.
Things that you keep for yourself.
Like an adventure.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's kind of my meditation, I have to be experiencing constantly. I'm like addicted to experiencing.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. All right, let's get to the ending segment. All right, else we can just keep talking.
I know, dude. There's like a few things that I didn't even get to bring up. But
bring it up.
All good.
Bring it up.
Well, I just thought like
what am I missing?
Dude, there's just, I guess, like, how could you talk about someone's like life or everything that shaped them in just 3 hours? Like, you can't really do it.
You can't really do it. And I
just have like so many like different like stories or like growth, significant like happenings. Like, it's okay.
The best thing about this is like, the first time people come on here, I spend a lot of time learning about their lives, and the reoccurring times they come on, that's when, people come back with like, things that they were like, fuck, I wish I brought this up before. We're definitely going to have another episode of this. I'm trying
to come back at some point and come back in my van and maybe like,
dude,
do like a skit. Like maybe I could like take a video or something of it.
I swear to God, I was going to lay down
to the story.
I was going to lay down and try to have you ollie over me or some shit.
Really?
But I was just trying to think of weird shit to do. But we'll definitely come back and get into this. But I could talk to you for a long time.
Yeah, it's been.
But I had no idea what to expect with you to talk.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know if you were someone that was because I have friends who, like one of my best friends, he messaged me. He was like, "It's fucking sick. You're talking to him tonight." He was like,
"Hell yeah."
He was like, "I don't know if." He was like, "Do you think he'll talk to you?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "I don't know. Anytime that like he doesn't seem like a very very like And I was like, fuck yeah, everything's going to be real good. Yeah. And now that I have like the vibe that I do of you, I feel like, we can talk about shit all the time.
Oh, dude, yeah. Because we also
have just start a podcast.
We have that deep mindset.
Why don't you start one?
I don't know. It's like I said, I've thought about it, but I don't know. I guess if I started one and it was kind of just for my own sake, I wouldn't really care if people heard it or not.
That's what it is.
Maybe I will.
I started this and I didn't expect people to listen to this.
Because like one of the thoughts I've had lately is I'm like, okay, so like I'm doing all this shit in my life and I get to travel a lot and like I've made so many connections or
that's what I'm saying,
with
bro.
People like all like especially now from driving across the country so many times in the last year.
Don't even need to be skaters or nothing.
Yeah, I have a network of all these people. Like I have millionaire friends now who I met at a skate park because everyone else there is making fun of them for not being a skater. And I literally take them to my house and give them a real skateboard, like 35-year-old dudes. Yeah. Like shit like that. Like I have so many friends and connections that now that I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm just like, if I'm going all these places and meeting all these people, like what's something else outside of me just skating that I could do with all these opportunities I'm getting that most people don't,
It's therapeutic to talk to people. I love it more than anything. Yeah. It's like, I really love this. And like to have the opportunity to travel, and, talk to the people that
stories, dude.
Fuck yeah.
I had to like let go.
Let's talk about this more. Let's talk about, I'm going to be in your head about this.
Okay.
All right. Ending segment that I do with all my guests is an ending segment called Desert Island Questions.
All right.
Get through the gauntlet now.
Desert Island sounds kind of fun, dude.
Okay. Desert Island Questions is whenever I give each guest 3 categories to take with them on a desert island and use until they starve to death and die. First category, 3 movies to take on a desert island.
Damn, that's pretty deep. I told you I have a hard time picking like favorites and stuff.
That's all right. They don't need to be favorites. They just need to be movies that you're going to watch every day for the rest of your life.
I think I got a couple. I do the Outsiders movie.
Oh,
you ever
yeah.
seen that?
Fuck yeah, I've seen
That
that.
was, like,
Read
one of
that
the-
book, too, numerous
me
times.
too.
Shout out
That was
to S.E. Hinton.
That was a part of my unschooling at one point.
Dude.
That book's OG.
The Outsiders is an incredible movie.
Yeah, the movie was like, it was
Book
one
was
of those
great,
that
too.
the movie was just as good as the book.
Fuck yeah.
It's rare to find that.
And then look at the cast you got in there.
Oh, dude, superstars.
Tom
yeah.
Cruise, Emilio Estevez,
Dude, all of
Charlie
those dudes.
Sheen.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Dude,
No,
so
Charlie
sick.
Sheen ain't in there.
No, he's
but-
not in there.
No,
but,
he's not.
Dude, I can't remember. I'm so bad with names.
Rob Lowe,
Yeah,
Patrick
him.
Swayze.
That's who I'm thinking of, Rob Lowe.
Ralph Macchio. You can name
Yeah.
them all day.
Yeah, legends.
Legend. It's a good movie.
Next movie, Godfather.
I never seen it.
Really?
I know people. I tell people,
Yeah.
and they're like, "What?"
That's how I always felt too. But I watched that when I was like had just turned a teenager, and it just like I don't know. It's like one of those movies that you're like, what? Yeah, like Godfather, legendary movie, whatever. Like
I know. I
culture
gotta watch
movie.
it.
But
I think that's
actually
why I
is,
haven't
like,
watched it.
That's why I don't watch movies. I just watched Star Wars for the first time ever, like 3 nights ago.
What do you think? Which one?
I've watched all 3 of the original,
Okay. 4,
3,
5, and 6.
4, 5, 6. Yeah,
You
but I've
enjoyed
never
them?
seen. Yeah, they're sick.
Okay. Well, it's
But
interesting
that's like one of
because
the reasons I never watched all of them is I was like, well,
hype.
it's kind of sick to be like, I haven't seen a single one.
that's how I feel about
You know
Game
what
of
I mean?
Thrones. I'm like, I
Yeah.
ain't never watching Game of Thrones.
Yeah, you know?
But it's weird because the Star Wars movies are very dated. So like, it's interesting
Yeah.
to hear that you still like them.
Yeah, no, they kind of
This way.
pulled up. I
Yeah,
mean, they
fuck
also
yeah.
have that culture behind them, but no, they're pretty dope.
They're good for. I mean, they're great for a
And
reason.
to think about like the timing, like the time frame that they came out. I was sitting there with my roommate Hunter, and we were watching them because he's like obsessed with them. And was like, "What? You've never seen them before?" So I bought Disney Plus just so we could watch them this month.
Fuck yeah.
And we're sitting there like finding out, like I'm researching it, like the moon landing was like 6 years or something before the original Star Wars movie ever came out, and just like learning about that time period when this was even created, I was like, dude, like the impact this must have really had, and to see now, like
Fuck yeah.
50 or something years later, that impact is still there and still going on. It's because of the initial time framing and belief system and the impact it had back then.
Yeah, there's
And,
definitely.
and I think that's insane.
there's more into like
Yeah.
people don't necessarily go as deep and look in that shit, but that's pretty
Yeah.
cool to think about.
Yeah, it was very interesting.
It's like, think about, I often think of it as this way as well. Think about, have you ever seen The Exorcist?
yeah.
Thinking about The Exorcist coming out in the mid 70s, whenever it was
I didn't
not,
know it came out in the mid-70s.
it's like, people are like, religion is like such a normal thing.
Exactly.
And like, they're saying fucking off the wall crazy shit
Yeah,
in The
dude.
Exorcist. Imagine the horror that was associated with that at that time frame. And it's
know.
like, we watch it now and we're just like, it's a drop in a bucket with what's going on in the world now. It's
Because
like,
we now live in a world that's already been impacted by it.
Yeah, dude.
That's why it's so interesting.
it is. It's super interesting to
Yeah.
think about that. That's why whenever you mentioned Star Wars, I was like, that's cool to be able to like have that experience now.
Yeah, I'm kind of stoked I never saw it until now.
Fuck yeah. I'm gonna enjoy watching The Godfather because
Yeah.
I know I got to do it.
Godfather 1 and 2 are the best ones.
Okay, so you picked that.
Yeah, and for the third one, I don't really know. I could say a skate video, but
Well,
it's
no,
kinda
don't say that
cliche.
yet. Don't say that because that's the next question.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Maybe just off the top of my head, like classic Indiana Jones or something.
Oh yeah, you
I
can't
love
really
those
beat
movies
that.
as a kid. Yeah,
You can't really beat that.
and that homie's in Star Wars too. So
Yeah,
that goes
Harrison
with the
Ford?
flow. Yeah, he's a legend, bro.
I'm pretty sure that I read that Harrison Ford was just a carpenter on the set,
Really?
and they hired him from that.
On Star Wars, or because Star Wars came out before Indiana
Yeah,
Jones.
on Star Wars. I'm pretty
No
sure that he was a
way.
carpenter on the set.
I'm looking that up after
Yeah,
this.
definitely look it up and
That would be amazing.
check me out. But
that makes sense too. for
I'm pretty
some
sure
reason.
that that's true.
Like he has that kind of aura.
Yeah, like an old school, like
Yeah. Dude,
rub
back
some
then,
dirt
he
in
was
it.
probably such a badass back
Fuck
then
yeah.
too. Or like I love like Robert De Niro and shit. Too.
You know
like,
Sam Elliott?
Yeah.
Sam Elliott. I was just listening to a podcast to him today, and he's kind of getting canceled for some wild shit that he said. But
Really?
it's just like, to hear about these people back then that were like in these crazy movies like Tombstone, and
Yeah.
like it's just like a wild thing to think about.
Yeah, the world is a bizarre and interesting place.
It is. Okay, so second question. I usually ask people 3 books, but I want to know 3 of your favorite skate videos.
Yeah, man, that's a hard one. I feel like I don't really watch that many skate videos anymore, honestly.
Yeah.
So I want to think of some OG ones, but at the same time, I'm gonna try put some love on my homies' names because those are some of my favorite skaters. My homie Michael Rosenberg recently released a video called "The Sunday Rule." It's a full-length video based out of Cleveland, Ohio.
Where can you find it? YouTube?
YouTube, yeah.
Okay.
Sunday Rule. I think it's up there now.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one of them. What's another recent one? I guess I could be cliche and say Celine by John Petrus.
Yeah.
Not because I was in it, but because
It's a dope video. I watched
some of
it.
my best friends were in it, and that meant a lot to me, not just because of, me having a part in it, but all those dudes had never really done anything like that prior to meeting me. So for them, it was their first experience filming street skating. It was their first experience putting together a video. It was their first experience like doing anything like that, something I'd done numerous times. And so that was like really powerful to me because I kind of felt like I was, giving my close friends an experience.
Yeah.
And something that I knew would be impactful to them. So
Fuck
I'll
yeah.
say that one too, be a little cliche. And third one,
If you had to pick like a pro skate video, from
that's what I'm trying to think for this one. Yeah.
all my friends were like Baker 3 people. Like we all watched
that's
that
sick too.
because that was like that was like of that time frame where we were coming up. Like
Yeah.
it was weird to think about that as well.
Fully Flared.
Yeah.
I was like maybe a couple years, like I think it was 3 years or 4 years after that video, I started skating.
Oh, okay.
So I was like kind of late in the game to that, but maybe say like Manic Mahdi or something. That's a really OG, like I think early 90s or late 90s.
I've never even heard of that.
Yeah, it's called Manic Mahdi, I believe.
Okay.
But that's like OG, like Eric Costin, I'm pretty
Oh,
sure.
really?
And like, it's like a OG, like, I think it was an S skate video.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. Someone might roast me because I don't really remember
That's all right.
exactly. But
That's interesting. I never heard of that.
yeah, it's a dope video, and it's one that I used to watch almost every day. So I'd watch like Costin's parts and stuff. I was always fascinated with the OGs when I first started skating.
Yeah.
So any of those old videos I like way more than ones that just dropped this year.
It's understandable.
Yeah.
Did you gravitate more towards like street or like vert type stuff?
When I first started skating, like in videos, or
Just like what you liked. Like what you liked.
I was when I very first started skating and like could go to skate parks. I skated nothing but transition for like maybe a year, which is funny because now I don't do that at all.
Yeah.
But I was street skater from the jump, though, for sure. Once I was good enough that I learned how to ollie onto a box or learned what switch skating was, that was like it. It was only street skating. Like I didn't even know, what switch is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, dude, I didn't even know that switch skating was even real, like, until my homie Isaiah Jones played skate with me and did like a switch heel or something.
Yeah.
He's obsessed with Paul Rodriguez. And I did a heel flip and he's like, nah, that's switch. And I was like, you're fucking lying, bro. Like, that's not real. And then I figured it out.
And you're like,
and that was when I became
fucked up.
obsessed. So it was like on my second or third year, like I used to get hated on as even a little kid because from the time I learned how to ollie, I would learn every trick I learned regular. I would learn it switch from the start because at that time, nobody did that.
Yeah.
And I was still just learned how to kick flip. So I learned switch flip next day. And I was like, yo, this is going to be like what I stand out for eventually. And like it got to the point where once I would go to skate parks finally, people would just tell me that I was lying and that it wasn't switch. And then I would do it regular and be like, so what's that? And they used to like hate on me. They'd be like, you just don't have a stance, this and that. And I was like, no, I put in enough time on both sides.
Yeah, man, pedestrians,
yeah, you're
motherfucker.
right. I don't have a stance, bro. But one of them switch.
Yeah.
Like, are you telling me the front tail 270 flip is switch or the switchback tail 270 is switch? either way, one of them's working, bro. Like, you can't say anything to me. You know?
Yeah. Now, you said to your... God, we didn't even bring up one up in the skate competition.
Yeah.
And how it was like 8 hours long.
Yeah. I can't believe yeah.
Well, you're the champ this year.
Yeah,
the reason it went through my mind is you said that Hunter was your roommate, and that's who you were going up against, right?
Yeah.
I actually had you in the competition, and Brandon said,
"Oh, you bet on me?"
Oh yeah,
hell yeah! Oh my God.
Yeah, because I bet with Brandon last year too.
Oh really?
Yeah, and I think it might have been 2 years ago. I bet on Curtis.
Oh yeah,
and he lost to Dion, I believe.
Maybe that would have been a few years ago.
Yeah, it was. It was in the old shop.
Yeah.
But I like getting some action. But I told Brandon, I said, if you got anyone else besides JTH, I was like, I got a hoodie on it, and he was like, all right, let's make it fun. He was like, Hunter's been crazy consistent. He was like, we'll do it. But that's cool to hear that you both were in it. How long did it last?
Our game?
No, like all of it.
Probably like maybe 4 or 5 hours. It wasn't like 8 hours, but it was a good bit. It was fairly long, because it's just the way it's set up. There's some people skating it who like, they don't have as many tricks as everyone else skating it, so
different levels to it.
Yeah, but it's if you have to land at least 5 tricks that someone else doesn't land, then you need X amount of tricks to do that. And so some of them, maybe they only have 8 or 10 tricks, but it's going to take them 10 minutes to land each of them. Yeah. So that game's a lot longer than someone else who is in and out really quick, even though they might be better. So it took like a few hours, but
you got the belt.
Yeah, dude. Somehow I don't skate flat ground. Like last year and this year, I was like theoretically betting on Hunter both years. Yeah, I would say he's probably better than me at flat ground, but
I didn't really know of him that much. Like I know just of what Brandon posts of him. Yeah. But like I didn't really know too much of him. Dude, I know of you, but obviously I knew you. So I mean I'm gonna bet on you.
You know, I needed that back-to-back year. Yeah. Now next year I'm actually gonna like probably try learn some flat ground before it happens. Because once I get the 3-peat, bro, that's 3-peat, I can just walk away.
Fuck man. Yeah, that's it. You gotta get the 3-peat.
It was cool because Hunter and I skated like the day before, and it was all kind of just fun, you know. It's not like that serious there, but we were like talking about it, and I was just like, yeah, dude, like as long as it's as long as the belt goes to one of us, like as long as the belt is in good hands, like. Yeah, you know what I mean? And I was like, bro, if I win, I'll literally split the money with you. Like, I don't care. Yeah. And he was like, yeah, dude, if I win, I'll split the money with you too. And I was like, I just want to make sure, like, we put on for the shop for one up. Yeah. And so, and it ended up, it was both of us in the finals. And we were so, like, stoked and, like,
hell yeah, it's probably fun.
Dude, that was the most fun out of the whole time was then. Because we had both made it to the finals, and we were like, yo, this is exactly what we manifested and talked about this morning. Like, now, I don't care if I win it all, bro. Yeah. I don't care if you win it all. And so we just had fun, and I ended up getting away with it. That's dope. And, yeah, I gave him half the bread, and I kept the belt.
That's dope, dude.
Yeah, I was stoked.
Man, one up.
Yeah, dude, I can't believe Brandon's going to be bummed. He's going to be like, damn, you guys didn't even touch base on the shop.
Dude, we touched so much good shit on here.
I said the warehouse was my favorite park.
Yeah, we touched on it. We put respect on One Up's name. Yeah. We did. Yeah. Okay, third category. You get to pick 3 CDs.
Okay.
Dogs are getting reckless.
Yeah, it's getting that time. Man, dude, I don't even know like album names at this point.
What about artists?
I'll say artists. So if I'm on a desert island and I'm there until basically I die, I'm probably gonna go with some of my travel music. So there's like Krungbin, if you know them.
Someone Ari Cole just picked them.
Hell yeah. Yep, they're up there for sure. That's some good vibe music alone on the desert island. Maybe some Skin Shape too. Do you know of them? No. They're pretty cool. I think they're a little older than Krogenbin or whatever, but they have a lot of that same style, like kind of instrumental, soulful. I don't know, just kind of like deep meaning. They have a lot more words in their songs than Krungbin, though.
Okay.
That'd be a great Desert Island by yourself playlist. And then third, I don't know, maybe something like old school, like a greatest hits of like the Eagles or something crazy like that. Yeah,
some old school like Creedence Clearwater shit like that.
Yeah, like maybe something wild just to remember the culture.
Hell
from
yeah.
the time before I was stranded on this desert island.
That's good.
Yeah.
Don't matter if you're starving to death or not. You play Hotel California while you're laying on a beach.
I'm good, bro.
Yeah.
That's my meditation. I need that sometimes. I gotta be stranded sometimes.
All right. To carry along with the stranded, the third to last question is something I do called Death Row Meal.
Uh-oh.
So the Death Row Meal, you get to pick an appetizer, main course, and a dessert.
Well, that's a really loaded question, so I'm not going to put too much thought into it. I'll put some respect on my mom's name. I'll start with dessert first. My mom used to make me this amazing like ice cream cake for my birthday.
An ice cream cake?
Yeah, but it was so, like you'll get ice cream cakes at Dairy Queen and it's like, you're like, oh, this is like that half-ass ice cream that's like
frozen,
frostbit and like, no, like she would like big casserole dish, $13.19. She'd first layer like all ice cream sandwiches, the best.
Wow.
And then put it like a thin layer of Cool Whip, then some hot fudge over that, and then some caramel over that, and then another layer of the ice cream sandwiches, and then another layer of fudge and caramel, a little bit of whipped cream on top, and then break up a Butterfingers into pieces and sprinkle it over.
My God.
So it's like a real soft, you can actually bite into, and dude, it's incredible.
That's a good dessert.
Yeah, so shout out to moms, do that.
Okay.
And then maybe put some respect on my grandma's name too. Some of her homegrown sweet corn.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like chilled off the cob. It's like all like buttered and seasoned. Like when you have real sweet corn, like Amish grown, that's been harvested within the same day or two prior to you eating it, it is completely different than like eating anything else. It's crazy how different it is actually.
I bet.
And so I'd probably go with that. Made some mashed potatoes and gravy by her as well. The handmade mash, little chunks in it. Yeah.
Yep, proper.
Yeah. And appetizer, maybe just some garlic breadsticks.
Breadsticks?
Garlic breadsticks.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Dude, yeah.
They're good.
Full carbs, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I'd be pretty satisfied.
All right. That's good. That's a good answer.
Hell yeah.
Okay, second to last question. You're traveling across the country. You only get one snack for the rest of your life. What is it?
Yeah, I've been there a few times recently. Probably run with the M&M, the pretzel M&Ms.
In the blue bag?
Yeah.
You already know that.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you already know. They're good.
I've eaten way too many of those in the last 8 months driving across the country.
They're really good, the pretzel ones.
Yeah,
I'm usually a creature of habit. I never would pick M&Ms ever, but someone gave me them and I ate them and I was like, fuck,
they're
these are
different,
crazy.
Bro. It's something wild because I love like chocolate covered pretzels in general.
I got some Saris upstairs.
Dude, yeah.
Yeah, you can't beat that.
Yeah, it's like the proportion of the chocolate to
That's
the pretzel.
It's very important.
It's easy to bite into. It doesn't hurt your teeth. Like
it's important. The ratio of chocolate to pretzel is very important.
And it's also not just like some salt and vinegars. I got to drink a bunch of Bev while I'm eating it. Like I can sit there and casually eat some pretzel M&Ms. Yeah.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
That.
Last question. If you could have a conversation with anyone alive or dead, who would it be and why?
I knew that one was coming, but I knew I wouldn't have a proper answer. There's so many people. I'm so fascinated by people. Like, it's hard to answer. But without thinking about too much, just off the top, someone that I think would be crazy, like maybe like Nikola Tesla. Like to talk to that mind,
what an answer.
Yeah.
I never knew shit about him.
Has anyone said that before?
No, but I never did shit about him ever. I never knew anything about him. And then whenever the pandemic happened, I just like,
Oh, really?
I wanted to keep putting out episodes. So I just was doing research episodes.
Yeah.
And I spent like 40 hours researching Nikola Tesla, read his book.
Dude, fascinating.
Dude, he's a wild motherfucker. You know, that dude died poor.
Yeah.
Loving birds.
Dude.
Loved a pigeon.
Got robbed of the genius and might have gotten killed for it.
Dude, crazy.
Like,
really
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. Let me
Everyone
talk
was
to
like,
that
Thomas
dude.
Edison is sick. And you're just like,
Dude.
he's kind of shady.
You look at that and you're like,
Yeah.
like this makes sense with our current.
That's bait and switch, dude.
Yeah.
You got bait and switch. That's the shit that they're teaching in history right now.
Yeah.
Fucked up.
It's crazy. Dude.
Neither here nor there. I'm thinking about trying to ask my history teacher from high school that I never cared about in school. Like I cared about the teacher, never cared about history. I want to have him on and just talk about it and just kind of like talk about what the thoughts.
The feud between the two, or just one in general.
Oh no, just like I want to talk to the teacher of me not ever paying attention in school about all the fucked up shit that has since been like kind of like
that'd be pretty
controversial too.
Yeah, because that's another thing. Like I wasn't gonna say anything when we were talking about the schooling and whatnot, but it's like it's so bizarre because all these textbooks and whatnot that we're taught to just memorize this. We've already determined numerous times now that one, it's inadequate. Two, it's fake. Like, I don't know what more you really need.
I know.
Bro. Like, you would think me being a student when I was and being like, yeah, I'm not learning anything. And that's only another reason I don't want to be here. I'm literally trapped here and I know I'm not learning anything.
1,000,000%.
Like, why wouldn't you do something different? Why isn't it more normalized to learn in the way that works for you so that you're actually learning? Like, that's way more valuable.
We're all just a bunch of sheep.
I know,
that's what
dude.
it is.
I know.
That's what it boils down to, but I'm trying to fucking
is,
break out of it.
Yeah,
but
rewired.
We're rewired.
Right.
We're rewired.
Yeah, we're rewiring in the positive way now, though. I'm trying to rewire my brain from when I was 10 years old, everything I was taught.
Hell yeah. I feel like we're on the right way to do it.
It's already happening. Yeah.
It's already happening.
Yeah.
I mean, we're already here.
Yeah. Catch us in a few years.
Yeah. You're welcome back on here anytime you want. You just let me know.
I appreciate it.
I had a wonderful time speaking with you.
I'm super glad we finally made it happen.
Oh, yeah. I'm persistent. Yeah. I knew that it was going to happen. I'm happy that, am I your first podcast?
Yeah, you are.
I love it.
Yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way. I was listening to the Seven Springs episode the other day, and you kept talking about waiting to get them on till you could put some respect. Or,
put some respect on it.
And that's how I kind of felt. I was like, yeah, like, let me feel like I can put some respect on his name or whatever, like.
I appreciate that.
I want to try,
It's mutual, though, all the way.
Yeah, dude, nothing but love.
Take a second and promote your Instagram, where people could find you, any sponsors, whatever you want to promote.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll just plug in the Instagram.
Yeah.
At JTH96. Follow, like, comment, subscribe.
All
of that.
He don't give a shit.
Maybe on the next podcast episode, I'll finally reveal the full name. And yeah. I thought you were gonna ask me about that for sure while we were here.
What, you think I'm not gonna say your name on here?
No, like nobody knows. Like, few people know what the J in my JTH is my initials.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought it meant this is also interesting. I thought it meant just. I thought it stood for just.
Oh no. JTH is my initials, and follow the Instagram page. You'll see it just says Tyler Hannah, so no one knows the J. They're always asking, so it's just kind of funny not to tell anyone now.
Is it Jeremiah?
No.
Is it Jedediah?
No.
Okay, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we'll leave
next time you're on here. Yeah, next time you're on here for real. I want you to come up with some good stories next time,
Dude,
and
I've got so many.
Yeah, we'll just this will be good.
I need to tell you about the time we snuck into the Pittsburgh Zoo next time. Yeah,
leaving it on a cliffhanger like that.
Let's go.
Everyone else that's listening, appreciate it as usual. We got great guests every week. Episodes dropping Thursday. 200th episode party is on March 24th at Streets on Carson. It's going to be a fucking banger. If you have any want to come down and party with us, I would love to see you. But thanks for listening. Call you right back.